Hi-ho! Kermit the Frog here, and today we are here to talk about the best Muppet movie, according to Matt Yipchuk, The Great Muppet Caper. Yay! Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Jim Henson movie marathon. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and I have a cold, just in case you think I'm spending the whole night trying to sound like Kermit the Frog. It's natural, but here we are, week 2. Woot! And tonight we are I've been waiting for this night for a long time, which is why I did not call in sick, which is not even really an option that I have. But if it was, I wouldn't have done it because I've been waiting for years to, dare I say, force people to watch my personal favorite Muppet movie. And it finally happened. Tonight we are discussing The Great Muppet Caper. This is one of those classic Muppet movies from the 80s. It's like one of the big 3. In my mind, there are 3 significant major Muppet movies. There's the Muppet movie, which we touched on last week, The Great Muppet Caper, as well as Muppets Take Manhattan. And obviously, any movie with Muppets is better than a movie without Muppets. But I don't know. I feel like the Muppet movie and Muppets Take Manhattan, I feel like they're kind of mid. They don't break my top 5 favorite Muppet movies, but Great Muppet Caper is so good. I love it ever so much. There is nostalgic value there, but I think it holds up. Anyway, we're going to dive into it tonight. I cannot wait. Here, we're going to bring in our first guest for this evening because I see him shaking his head. It's Alex, everybody.
Hey, all right. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hey. How you
Hey.
doing? Well, what was it? The scrunchy face? What was it?
Well, when was I scrunchy facing?
When I saw you in the waiting room, I could see. But when you're not on camera, I could see everything you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
But Ben just
I'm,
touching
I'm,
his
I'm
face.
performing for you
Yeah. Ben
when
is
I'm not
still
on
touching
camera.
his face. Oh, you're performing. Okay. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Alex, welcome. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to hear your thoughts about this movie and to.
I don't know if you are excited to hear my thoughts.
No.
I feel
Well,
like you're probably the opposite of that.
I don't
What's
know.
the
I
opposite
don't
of
know how
excited?
any smart
Yeah.
human could not, at the very.
That's true. You don't know how any smart human, because takes one to know one.
I don't get it.
So I understand.
I don't understand.
Precisely. I understand. I understand.
Okay. Alex, what's your favorite heist movie?
Heist movie.
Yeah, heist movie.
I don't. Again, I don't like these questions
Yes,
generally.
but you
One
you
of my favorite.
understand the convention. You understand, like, just name a
One
heist.
of my favorite.
Okay.
Don't hold me to it being my tippity top
No, of course
favorite.
not. No,
But
no.
one of my favorite, possibly my tippity top favorite, is Heat.
I don't know Heat. Does it have
The-
Muppets?
No,
That's a shame. What
I
happened?
don't
Is he
believe.
with Sandra Bullock?
No, Heat is with De Niro and Al Pacino and Val Kilmer and other people.
Are you sure it's not with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy?
Definitely, that sounds like a terrible film.
I think your favorite heist movie has Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy from.
I mean, it's possible that they have some like cameo.
No. I think the poster is the two of them. Like,
It isn't, though. It definitely isn't. I mean, unless there was some like modern day remake in the last like 5 years that I just didn't hear about, or I saw and like immediately emptied from my brain because I was like,
could be
like
it.
like saw as and I saw the like name, not the movie. I never watched a remake of Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa
Fair.
McCarthy.
Maybe you should.
I mean, if I guess I would give it a try. If it was
Good.
presented to me.
All right, let's bring in our next guest for this evening. It's Jeanette, everybody. Woo!
Hello.
Jeanette, it's so good to
Hi.
have you. Okay, wait. I do want to know your favorite heist movie, but since we missed you last week, I need to know.
Yes, I
Quick
missed
question.
you.
Favorite Muppet?
Oh, my favorite Muppet. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna stick with classics. I'm not gonna get too obscure.
Okay.
I would have to say, as a child, it was a tie between Fozzie and Gonzo.
Good.
Though I think as an adult, it's a solid tie between Rizzo and Gonzo. But I see them as a pair. So
I accept.
I feel like they are a pair after Muppet Christmas Carol. So
I do miss the era of Rizzo. I mean, I don't mind.
The
Pepe.
90s were a solid time for Rizzo.
Oh, the 90s. That's where it was at. Oh, fun fact. This is something from last week. Alex and I apparently share the same favorite Muppet, which one would not expect, but we do. Who do you think it is?
Animal.
No.
No. Okay.
a good one. The animal's funny.
Animal is great.
Yeah.
You're not
Okay, another guess then?
Another
Yes.
guess.
Is it okay? Let me separate this. Is it we're going original Muppets, no Sesame Street?
No,
Okay,
original
Muppets. Original Muppets, no Sesame Street. Okay. Then I would say Kermit.
That's
No?
a good guess, but no.
No. Okay.
Is it a
You're
good
Mickey,
guess?
You're
I
a
guess it's an
Mickey
okay
guy.
Yeah.
So that's
of
why
course.
I figure you're a Kermit guy.
No, then that's yeah. And I mean,
Well, the trick here is to figure because we both share it. So like you can't focus on Matt here.
That's true.
I mean, not necessarily have to focus on me, but like
Well, you're mysterious, Alex.
I guess
what am
that's
to
true.
know?
Anything I could like anything.
Who is it?
It's Piggy.
It's Piggy.
Oh no, I
That's
would. That was
Piggy.
not my next guess at all.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I was
Piggy.
gonna go Rolf.
Yeah.
Was my next
No.
one for some
No,
reason? Because he's a
Piggy.
piano player.
Piggy
Maybe
all the
I don't know.
way. And the more I
Yeah,
reflect on it, I feel like maybe part of the reason I love Piggy so much is specifically because of this movie, since it is very much Piggy's film, and this is like my nostalgic favorite. So yeah, but no, I'm a Piggy fan all the way. I love Piggy as well as Kermit.
Yeah.
I feel like I like to think I'm a Kermit. Some agree, some disagree. So
I would go there. That's kind of I would go there.
I would say I would cast you as a Kermit. You know,
Yeah.
I think you're a shoo-in for a Kermit to play Kermit.
Thank
But
you.
you're a Scooter playing Kermit.
Oh, interesting.
You know, that's
not
what it
bad
is.
though. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But that's my perspective.
You know who
If I
should
worked
weigh
my
in?
way down the list, I
Ben.
would.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ben.
I already knew you were coming
long
because he
time.
referenced your name, but you weren't on the original list. So I was like, when I heard it first, I was like, calculating.
Last
but-
minute edition for the Caper, which I had never seen. This was the first time I'd ever seen
Oh,
Great Muppet
geez.
Caper in my life.
I'm so
Which is-
excited to hear your thoughts, Ben, but
which
not
is
yet.
wild.
Ben, who's your favorite Muppet?
It's God.
God?
It's God.
Good Muppet.
It's our
That's
Lord
aw.
Jesus Christ.
You know, fun
Uh,
fact, do you know who God is? This is canon in the Muppet universe. God is Whoopi Goldberg in the Muppet universe.
Oh,
Wait,
what one was
is
that
this in one
of the
I do
movies?
remember
Yeah.
that.
Are you saying
very
Whoopi
Muppet
Goldberg plays God in one of the Muppet
Yeah,
movies?
Whoopi
Or,
Goldberg
okay,
plays
that's
God.
different. That's different.
So
well,
Whoopi Goldberg number one.
Yeah.
Then Rolf. I love Rolf. I
Good.
love, like you said, plays the piano. I could be wrong about this, but I feel like Rolf was retired post Henson's death for a while or something. No, was it
Rolf
Henson or
is
someone
out
else?
of the circulation for quite some time. I don't
Yeah.
know the exact things,
He's
but I
kind of
do know
Back
Rolf is
now?
like not a thing for a while. He's in the kids program now, I think.
Well,
Got
he
it.
was supposed to be retired for good just because of how closely tied he was to Jim. And
Yeah.
I believe he was Jim's favorite character that he personally did. So they kind of stepped back from having someone else take the reins on the Rolf puppet and performance.
Wouldn't
For a
Kermit
long
be
time.
the shoe-in for that?
You would think so, but apparently Jim was like, no, it's all Rolf. I love Rolf.
Did you guys already talk about the Steve Whitmire stuff on the last Muppet
Not.
episode?
No.
That's to say.
Steve Whitmire, who played Kermit for decades, fired, and he's not happy about it. And there's a new guy now that for the last few years that's been doing Kermit.
And it's
And I'm
not
still
good.
getting used to. I'm still kind of getting used to the new
His
tones
Kermit.
because we
New
grew up
Kermit
with
is weird
Whitmire.
for us.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
kind of like how there's a new Mario now because Charles Martinet retired.
You mean
You got to get
Chris
used to the
Pratt?
new Mario. You got to get no.
Oh, I was like, what?
The guy that in the games that would do the
Woohoo!
Mario voice. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But I also
Here we
need
go.
to shout out Piggy because I feel like Piggy might be the most, to me, well realized of all the Muppets. I feel like she feels of all the Muppets. I mean, Kermit very much this as well, but Piggy feels like I can envision her walking around the world, not operated by anybody. She just feels like such a fully
Yeah.
formed character, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In this movie, we literally see her walking around the world.
We got to talk about some
know if
stuff
that's
involving
true.
limbs tonight. In Muppet limbs, I have some things to say.
About
I'm
limbs.
there for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Work. Well, before we get into that, let's see what we have in the chat here. Only time will tell. Our first comment of the night. Will Vince arrive on time or will he be 15 minutes late? Only time will tell. That it will. Eliza the cat is here. She's watching the show because she wants to look at my Kermit hat. Eliza, you are welcome to play with this when the show is over. William Tell is my favorite overture. Agreed. Now, I don't know who Vince was referring to because I didn't clock what we were discussing when this came up, but like take your pick.
Oh, probably he's referring to just Why Miss Piggy is great, maybe.
Piggy or Melissa
Uh,
McCarthy
Or
This is-
or
this is a-
Whoopi Goldberg.
This is a Pacino line in the movie Heat that Alex loves.
Oh yeah,
And
that's true. That's true.
Oh,
That's true. That's true. That is a
yes,
good
I
one.
do remember
That
that.
is a good
Yeah.
I've got to point this out because I was listening from
Oh,
backstage, the
yeah.
virtual backstage. You both are right. Like there's a movie called with
Heat.
Melissa McCarthy and Sandra
I
Bullock.
looked
It's
it
called
up. Yeah.
The Heat. It's got
The
a the
Heat.
on the front of it.
The Heat. I
But there
mean,
is a The Heat. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
I'm
Heat.
feeling the heat.
1995 was Heat.
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
This is just like another Forgiven or Unforgiven and The Unforgiven
yeah, same
Well-
thing.
fusion. Yes, we all almost watched a Clint Eastwood movie. Well, just me.
I just rewatched that like 2 weeks ago. It's good.
Really? Is it
Yeah,
good? Man,
I'm not a huge Eastwood guy.
were
but
you
a
also
friend of-
forced to watch that too many times at York? Because my
They-
screenwriting classes were.
They never made me watch it once, man. We must have had different classes. I didn't watch it once, and then I watched it after I graduated. And then they're teaching it at U of T. A friend of ours is teaching it, and he got a 35 millimeter print, like they would show in the movie theater back in the 90s when it would run. And he showed it in the class, and it was like a bunch of like 19-year-olds being like, "Oh, whatever." But we were so locked into it because we got to come visit and watch it.
Nice.
It was great. So that's why I saw that recently.
Yeah, how?
But I'm taking us off track.
To us like 4 times over the course of 4 years.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it was. I've seen it enough. But non 35. Sabrina, my other cat, saw my Kermit hat because I was wearing it outside the building to try to get attention, and it worked. Yoda, for Mark's favorite heist movie, is The Nut Job. Also enjoys Going in
Oh,
Style.
I wanted to ask, are we counting Indiana Jones as a heist movie? I feel like it is.
Sure. Why
No.
Any
not?
of the Indiana Jones. Yes.
Why not?
Don't you have to
He's,
rob
there's
a
literally
bank?
a scene of him trying to switch a thing out with
That's
like another
booby traps.
like,
That's not
that's
robbing
a
a bank. That's
heist.
like that's a heist at like a museum or
he's
something.
stealing.
It's kind of a
Stealing
heist. It's a little bit of a
painting
heist.
or a
And
diamond.
this, the Great Muppet
Fine.
Caper, is probably one of the pinnacle heist movies of all time.
Absolutely.
And there, to me, there's an Indiana Jones reference in it because that supper club that they're in looks
Yes!
exactly like
Yes!
the Temple of Doom opening, doesn't it?
Club
That's
Obi-Wan.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking, but is it too close to time?
Oh, actually,
I
you know
think
what?
it might
have
precede it. I
I think you're
know.
Oh,
right.
yeah, because this
I think
movie is
you're right.
81.
I thought the same thing. I
So-
think supper clubs just look like that, and they
No,
all
Isn't
it's
it
Jones
darker
and the
in
Temple of
Indiana
Doom.
Jones?
Doom.
It was referencing the Great Muppet Caper. Spielberg was referencing the
Oh.
Great Muppet Caper with his
Yes.
opening with the Temple of Doom. That's what was
I
happening.
thought it was amazing.
I feel like the Temple of Doom opening was like dark, like dimly lit.
No,
It wasn't
it
so. It wasn't
It's
so.
the one
blatant.
with
Turn
with the
brightness up on your
dancers.
TV.
No,
yeah.
I know. It's they're in Tokyo or wherever, in China or in Japan, wherever they are. They're in
It's very,
That
it's
land.
very bright. Alex
It's
is like
extremely
a lot
bright.
of
It's very
white.
white
It
and
is
like
okay.
neon
Okay.
blue light.
Okay.
Remember she's
So,
singing
yeah.
Anything Goes in a
Once the
different
kebab spheres come out, I
Right.
think it maybe dims a bit, but
Oh, probably.
all right,
language. Yeah.
all right, to just enhance the fire effects on the
Fire.
kebabs. But okay.
Good times, good times. Unforgiven Rules. Best Clint. Well, let's bring in our final guest for tonight. Only time will tell, and he made it 1 minute
Yay!
early. It's Vince, everyone. Vince.
How's
Hi,
it going,
Vince.
everyone? It's
Good.
great to see y'all. Great to see y'all.
Vince, what's your favorite heist movie?
I just want to chime in. I think Indiana Jones movies are heist movies. He's just he exclusively targets indigenous people, which I think is unethical. But hey,
It's stealing.
It belongs in a museum.
that's really fallen out of fashion, hasn't it?
Has Harrison Ford ever interacted with a Muppet? It feels like
yes.
he should have.
Oh, the 90s. I think on the 90s Muppet Show.
Muppets
Okay.
Tonight?
The one that Prince was on.
Muppets
I wanna
Tonight.
say, yeah.
So good.
He was. I bet he was on there because you can imagine his sort of surly
I feel
personality
like
talking
he
to like.
was.
I can
Comment.
imagine him
If it
pulling a
wasn't
Larry
him, it was
David and
Tommy
just
Lee
like
Jones.
choking one out. But
No. Harrison has class. He would never do that.
He's just so like
That's debatable.
It's not like we're talking about Sean Connery here. Come now. All right. Yeah.
But
Vin,
in terms of heist movies,
movie.
I got to go with Drive with Ryan Gosling.
I
It's a
haven't
heist
seen that movie.
I'm a real
Oh, it's a
human
spectacular
being.
film.
La,
was a
la,
pretty
la,
One of
la,
my
la, la, la.
favorites.
See, that movie, I had such a hard time watching it because of the scene when Ryan Gosling accidentally stepped on that guy's face.
La 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 la.
Accidentally. Whoops.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm
Alex,
covering my ears because I haven't seen the movie.
but
Yet.
you're just
Oh,
thrusting our
Jesus.
sound deeper into your ears.
Yeah, that's the joke. That's
Oh.
the meme.
That's funny. That's funny.
So I don't actually care about spoilers.
Speaking of funny, let's talk about the Great Muppet Caper, my favorite Muppet movie.
Let's do it.
Woo! All right. Had anyone else seen this before tonight or before tonight's homework? Jeanette had, and everyone else was a first timer. Okay, let's go. So, Jeanette, let's open by talking about our nostalgic connections to it. I'll go first because I have so many. I talked about it last week. This is one of the first VHS tapes I owned as a child. As far as back as I can remember VHS, I recall this movie, and I loved it. I watched it on repeat, and it has just always been my favorite Muppet movie. And it still is. Every time I revisit it at a different stage of my life, I appreciate the humor more and more. And yeah, I love it. We'll get into details later. But Jeanette, how did you discover this movie? Was it your first VHS tape ever as well?
It wasn't. The funny thing is, of the things I know about this movie, I don't remember where I watched it for the first time. I feel like maybe it could have been the Disney Channel, maybe it could have been a VHS at a friend's house. I don't know. I just know that I saw this before any other original Muppet movie.
Good.
So I saw Muppet Treasure Island first. I saw Muppets in Space, and then I saw this. So I saw the newer ones first, then I saw this, but then I saw the original Muppet movie, and then Muppets Take Manhattan. Of the three, Manhattan's my least favorite.
Yeah.
This and the first one kind of tie in my brain. I always fight with it. But this one was the first one I saw. And for a long time, as a child, I thought that this was the original Muppet movie. I never really paid attention to the title. I don't know what was wrong with me. I just thought this was the Muppet movie. So I loved as a kid that this broke the third wall. Like that was my big thing. I thought that was so cool and different at that age. So yeah, that was kind of the thing that stuck out to me that made me love this movie and what this movie influenced for me later in life.
Nice. And how do you feel it holds up now with a recent rewatch?
It's fantastic. And also it makes me remember, like it makes me feel the Muppet Vision 3D vibes. Like this movie gives me a lot of those, like interacting with the audience. We're doing this. So we're going to check this out. Like, I don't know. I loved that in this part. It's like the cars driving through walls. Like we do that in Muppet Vision 3D. So like as watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes a lot more sense that this was the artistry and this is the artist.
Absolutely. One thing or a couple things I noticed on this rewatch, also after having watched the Jim documentary last week, I'm fairly certain this is the only Muppet movie that Jim actually directed himself completely, because he didn't direct the Muppet movie. That was some other guy. Frank Oz did Muppets Take Manhattan, and I don't know what happened after that. But of like the main Muppet movies, this one is like totally Jim, which
You
makes
were correct.
See, I thought so. Go me.
You were right. I found that out today. This is his only credited Muppet movie that he made.
I think that's why it's so good. I feel like you feel his humor and also his specificity in directing like every detail of everything that's happening in the frame. Like so many things in the background stood out to me on this rewatch. Like in the opening number, Hey, a Movie, there's one extra in the background who gets paint dumped on her and she's just okay with it and she keeps dancing.
Yes. Oh my God, I noticed that too.
Hilarious. There's just so many little nuggets like that. Yes, it's so good. I also think this is the first, this is the first time I feel we see the magic that happens when you have human actors acting opposite Muppets in a dramatic scenario. Because we had human Muppet interactions on the Muppet Show and in the Muppet movie, but they're mostly cameos and they're kind of gag worthy, like Steve Martin as the waiter in the restaurant. But this is the first time you have like an actual narrative with humans interacting with Muppets like they're other humans. Specifically, Charles, what's his face from Beethoven, being in love. Godin. Charles being in love with Miss Piggy is hilarious. And so, yeah, it's so good. Well,
and them interacting with the supermodels coming off the thing, like it's funny, but it's also not. Like they're literally just like, hey, where do we go? Like they're interacting like normal human beings,
just in the universe, and it's so magical. And what was the other thing that I noticed about this? Oh, I think the other reason that this to me plays as the original Muppet movie versus the Muppet movie is because you get to see all the Muppets totally in their element with each other, like Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo as a trio, as opposed to the Muppet movie where it's about them meeting and like whatever. You get to see them in action as like a core group, and you get to see like Piggy and Kermit having a love story. It's just like the Muppets in their prototypical roles doing their thing, and it's so good. I love this movie.
Also,
What-
in this, I'm sorry, we can get to this later, but in this movie, they all act like they've never met before. But there was another movie before this, and that I never really realized that when I was a kid, and that threw me off this time. I was like,
Yeah, I think it's because this movie, even though they're playing themselves, they're also playing out a separate like universe narrative, because they do break away from it when Piggy starts crying by the river. He's like, Piggy,
oh yeah, and they do recognize it for a little while, because for a second I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
what?
And in the
What?
opening number, Kermit's explaining, he's like, in this movie, we play reporters, and we're gonna do this, this, and this. So they're playing themselves, but as characters in an isolated story.
That's true. That's true. It lost me for a little while because I felt like there was like a carryover, like a conundrum for a second. I forget where it was, but yeah, the piggy thing brought me back into it. You're right.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have that scene when it happens in the movie to remind you that the meta quality of it, of the Muppets are playing themselves, but they're also acting and in their own story. And it also suggests that maybe there's behind the scenes drama between Kermit and Piggy that we're not seeing played out, but just like Piggy and Kermit, maybe they had a fight the night before they shot this scene. And then she's crying. She's like, I'm doing my best. I know you are.
Pig.
Pig.
I loved all the pig drops in this movie.
So
It's
many
a little shout out. So many pig drops.
Let's hear first impressions from the people who watched it for the first time. Alex, you can go last because I feel like your take might spark interesting discussion between the two of us, and it might be heated. So before we get there, let's start with Vince. What's your first impression of this film?
You know what? Originally, I wasn't going to be a part of this because I saw the title. I'm like, I'm not interested. And Matt, it was you last week. You spoke so passionately about this film.
Good.
That you inspired me to watch it and come on the show. And I got to agree, I've only seen 3 Muppet movies other than the one last week and the one this week. I've also seen Treasure Island. This is my favorite Muppet movie thus far. I think it improves on everything that the first movie did well, and it brought in new elements that kept it interesting. And the cameos were great. I had to watch the Peter Falk cameo twice because I absolutely loved it. And I'm an old soul who likes Columbo, so it was spectacular. No F-bombs in this episode, right?
We're going to try not to. We're going to try.
Okay, I caught myself just now. I got so excited talking about Columbo.
Good.
So yeah, those are my opening thoughts. I think it's a great movie, and the songs are better, and Miss Piggy's a much more likable character in this. She learns a lesson in this movie.
She does. We love character growth. We love that for her. Ben, what are your first impressions of this film?
Yeah, well, first of all, who doesn't love Muppets? You know what I'm saying? Everybody, who doesn't love them? I've met a few people, and they're kind of like, I don't get
those are
Muppets.
bad people, Ben. You should get away from
I'm
them.
just kind of like, what is there to get? They're the Muppets. Like, they're very charming. They're also, they're showmen. Like, they're show women. They put on a show.
Show
That's what we love about them. Show animals, and they with the Great Muppet Caper, I think what struck me first was what you guys are describing, which is that, I hadn't really seen. I've seen. Well, let me back up a little bit. So the Muppet movie was the one that I watched a ton as a kid. I had that on tape. So I've seen that a bunch. Haven't seen it in a long time until fairly recently. I think when I had COVID, I threw it on and I was just like, just basked in Muppet healing. But I hadn't seen the other like 80s Muppet movies. So this was the first time seeing Muppet Caper. I've never seen Manhattan. I don't think I've ever seen, even when we go into the 90s, like Muppet Treasure Island. I've seen Muppet Christmas Carol.
Have you seen Muppets in Outer Space?
You did. Wait, you bought it for me on DVD, man.
Yeah, you've seen
I have a DVD of it. I think I still have that DVD. So good. I should maybe I'll throw it on this.
You haven't watched it yet?
I need, it's just taken me, a decade or so, but I'm gonna get there. Good. Matt, you did 100% buy me that DVD. It was a very kind gift, but
Muppet Christmas Carol?
I've seen, yeah.
Is that the one you got the DVD of, or no?
No,
Treasure Island. Okay, I was going to say, I think any good Muppets fan would give somebody a copy of Muppet Christmas Carol just to spread the good word.
Or Treasure Island,
or Treasure Island.
And I think I saw Muppets from Space when I was like maybe 12, 11 or 12. I can't remember. My little brother had it on DVD, and I remember him watching.
I love that movie.
And then there's the new ones, and so I don't know why I never watched these kind of early sequels, and so my kind of take on it now, having seen it for the first time, is that it's a good, solid Muppet movie. I'm not going to go as far as to call it my favorite because I don't have that personal relationship to it. And I also think that there's things that the original Muppet movie does that this doesn't quite hit the highs of. Like, I think the songs for me in the original Muppet movie are stronger. I think Rainbow Connection is like such a classic song, and seeing Kermit play it on the banjo and then seeing him ride the bike in that movie. I'm sure you guys talked about this probably in your last episode, but him riding that bike, like that's like miraculous. Like nobody had ever seen anything like that before. And when you watch Caper, it's like, I feel like Jim Henson's just ramping it all up where he's like, not only are you going to see Kermit on the bike, you're going to see every Muppet I've got riding bikes.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing tricks on the bikes. And there's going to be real human children riding bikes around the Muppets riding bikes. And so I'm like, he's really like, showing you like, we can take this really far now. By the way, I highly recommend, if you look on YouTube, you can see early camera tests of them trying to get Kermit to ride the bike.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it's really hard for them to do. Like, he'll constantly kind of float off of the ground or he'll skid out. It makes it, it was a real challenge. So this one, it's like they're really able to like pull off some amazing technical stuff. And I did appreciate that. But I think that overall, yeah, I found it really breezy and like just it was such a like a really comforting watch in a way because it's just so light and the humor is so buoyant and it's like it's a lot of self-awareness. And I will say I think that it for me might be a little bit too much self-awareness. Maybe
they do it a lot.
They do it a lot, and it almost kind of sometimes like breaks the fabric of the movie in the way that like the Muppet movie never.
How little it had been done at that point.
It was very
very new. Like now, I do think if somebody did that now, I'd be like, okay, we get it. But back then, it's like coming from that time period. I feel like I thought the same thing on this rewatch. I was like, they do this more than I thought, but I love it. Like I just eat that.
If I was a kid, I think too, like them riding inexplicably in a hot air balloon at the beginning and being like, look at all these people who worked on this movie. We'll wait until the end credits. Like I would have loved that stuff as a kid. Like all that stuff is so funny. I think though, part of what kind of this is not fair. I'm going to say something very unfair.
Say it.
When I think about this movie and I think about the newest Muppet movies, so the Muppets 2011 and then Muppets Most Wanted, I think that the Muppet movie was kind of the blueprint or like the foundation for the 2011 Muppets movie, which I really enjoyed. Oh, yeah. And then I feel like this movie was the blueprint for Muppets Most Wanted, which is my by far least favorite Muppet movie I've seen. The beginning of Muppets Most Wanted, when they're singing a song about how this is a sequel and sequels aren't as good, I was like, you guys are being cynical right now, and that's not how Muppets are. And I got really mad about that. And I was like, this is not in the spirit of these characters.
It's okay.
And
just point fingers.
Yeah, I was very disturbed by their attitude in Most Wanted. They don't go that far in this, but I can see how they're kind of like, we have to ramp some things up. There's some great show-stopping numbers that might be the best, like, in terms of like filmmaking, like that, and beyond like what we see in the Muppet movie. Some of the stuff they do with Piggy and the dancing and like the way that that's shot, like this is amazing. But general impression is that I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I can absolutely see why, especially people of our generation, like why it might be their favorite Muppet movie or even Muppet media. But yeah, for me, it was just something I kind of just solidly enjoyed.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Alex, what are your thoughts? Also, who's Jack? Justice for Jack? Is he in this movie?
Well, so apropos of that, thanks for reminding me. So I wanted to shout out to Ben there. I enjoy his little justice hashtag there. I like the cameo and of course the performance in Princess Bride. Jack is the big monster, who I guess his name isn't actually Jack. That's his job. But from in the original Muppet movie, the guy who's chasing them all the way to Hog. Yeah, Sweden. Yeah. But they call him Jack, and I don't remember ever learning his name in the original Muppet movie, so I just call him Jack. Okay. So that's who Jack is.
Yeah,
he was in this movie actually, but in the opening, in the beginning. Yeah. But that's why he demands justice, or rather, we demand justice on his behalf.
Of course.
No, I think I'm sorry I synchronized out or whatever. I lost my connection. I missed the bulk of Vince's perspective, so I'm not quite sure, what you said there, Vince. But I did catch a lot of what Ben had to say, and it sounds like Ben's take is more or less a much more optimistic and polite version of what I would say about this movie. Having said that, the good stuff is I didn't regret watching it, and there were indeed a lot of one-liners and bits and gags that I really enjoyed. What Jeanette said in terms of this, and to Ben's point too, the self-referential stuff, the fourth wall breaking, etc. I also, to Jeanette's point, I more or less eat that up as well. I did clock it's something they kept doing, but also I was this is, and I also took it in context. I imagine, this is probably a pretty early film for this kind of humor. So this is I appreciate potentially its pioneering in that regard. And I, generally it's one of those fart jokes or whatever, it's an easy game to kind of get me to laugh. So there were things like that. On the other hand, to what you said, Ben, and I totally agree. I only have seen recently. I watched Treasure Island when I was a kid, but recently I only have these sort of the original Muppet movie and this movie in my mind. And to me, the original Muppet movie just worked a lot better for me.
Did you watch the original Muppet movie?
Yeah, I did. I watched that yesterday in preparation to. Yeah. And I guess I'll do a little shout out to that too, where I thought Never Before, Never Again, Piggy's song was fucking sorry. Was freaking great and hilarious, and I do not understand any detractors' sentiments. But yeah, and anyway, yeah, I thought the Steve Martin bit was funnier than the John. I love John Cleese, but I thought there was a very funny sequence in this film. But there were so many things. To me, the first Muppet movie, the Muppet film or Muppet movie, the reason why it worked is that for me, the way I perceive it is that it just felt like a series of bits one after the other. And the through line was a very kind of, it didn't matter. I wasn't sitting waiting for the story to play it. I was more so just watching these characters run into different characters and do different funny jokes. And it was all nonsensical anyway. And then the end was nonsensical. And that was the consistency of the nonsense and the absurdity was what carried the film for me. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that humor and the premise that we're Muppets, we can explode, we can do this and that, and we can bend the rules of reality, if you will, or not interact with certain expectations of reality. And the way they do that, I thought the humor there, it really worked for me. Whereas in this film, I felt there was a conflict between, they were still doing that absurd humor, but they also were operating on this more fleshed out plot, if you will, and they were introducing us to human characters who were important to the story. Apropos of the brother of whatever the holiday chick, I personally, I had a weird engagement with that performance. I was I didn't like the character. I thought for a Muppet film, I thought the sleazy villainous guy should be there should be something fun or redeeming about him. And for me personally, I just found him creepy and lifeless. I thought his delivery of his lines was just so meh and not unmotivated. And I when he was saying he loved Miss Piggy and he was lustful for her, and I got the height of the emotion was creepiness and and usually didn't even reach that far. It was just like I got nothing from him. Like he was just showing up like a Harrison Ford, but worse, because Harrison Ford, off camera would talk shit and then on camera would, be brilliant. And then this guy just was what Harrison Ford was kind of off camera, I would assume. So anyway, yeah, I would say I thought there were funny moments, but between the plot, which I didn't care about, which I thought was competing and distracting from the actual funny bits, and the editing, apropos of what Ben was saying about so Ben, you made a lot of comments about the technical feats of these films, right? And kind of looking at the technology and the I guess artistry behind putting Muppets with real people and putting Muppets on a bicycle and et cetera, et cetera. To me, I actually looked at a lot of those moments, like you mentioned floppy arms and stuff. To me, the lack of continuity stood out to me. There were shots, the shots where the arm was one way then the other, or when it was obvious that they didn't have the technology yet to animate the Muppet's mouth when the Muppet was being when they were hanging upside down, the Muppet was saying things, but the mouth wasn't moving because they couldn't figure out how to get the Muppet's mouth to move at the same time as doing this other technical stunt. So to me, it's kind of the pessimistic perspective of the technologies what kind of I engage with more, where I paid attention to more. Having said that, I in the first film and I can still, maybe retrospectively, I can appreciate, what maybe, and with some context maybe from you, I can appreciate the technical feats that these things represent. But yeah, watching the movie, I was more so noticing the lack of technical achievement or whatever, the pitfalls or what they weren't able to do yet. Well, what I said, right? So one key example, I could give you a couple, but one of them was whenever they were when Kermit was launched from the bicycle and he was hanging upside down on the tree, he was saying lines, but his mouth wasn't moving. I'm pretty sure at least that happened in that scene. I remember, and some scenes they figured it out. So some scenes Muppets were in weird positions or full bodies were exposed, but they were able to oh yeah, when he's being carried by Miss Piggy. So I don't know if they're using mirrors or what they're doing to animate the mouth or who knows. But in other scenes, not just Kermit, but various Muppets were just unable to do certain things, specifically get their mouths to move when they were saying lines. And I can only assume that was because they weren't technically, they didn't figure it out, whether they were incapable or not. They just didn't figure it out for those scenes. So those things kind of stood out to me. Yeah, so all in, I didn't have a terrible time, but I liked the first film a lot better than this one. And I don't know that I'd ever be interested in rewatching this movie, from a leisure or a entertainment perspective. I would be interested in going back and watching scenes. Like I said, I liked the John Cleese bit, and I liked a number of different jokes and one-liners. So I'd love to go through those clips and scenes. But the actual sit down for the whole movie again, I don't know that I'm a fan. Yeah,
it will grow on you, though. It will.
I mean, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying in my heart right now, it doesn't.
Years time, you'll think I really want to watch The Great Muppet Caper, and then you'll realize.
See, I'll really want to watch the Muppet movie.
Yoda for Mark wants to know about. Speaking of technical follies, Yoda for Mark wants to know.
I wish I would have been alerted to something like this earlier, so that I could attempt to do something before I went on a 5+ minute rant there. But
we can't halt momentum, Alex. We can't halt the momentum.
I would have understood and appreciated it nonetheless.
Yeah,
but
we all made a face when you started talking really loud. All of us were like, ah.
That was.
You're on my phone. I switched from my computer, my laptop to my phone.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite see the details of your faces, but
that kind of reminds me. I had the luxury of watching this movie on a small screen, kind of like what you're experiencing right now. So I didn't notice a single continuity error. And I guess that worked for me.
I actually watched it on my phone, both films, and I still noticed. Now, granted, I have a Samsung 23 Ultra, like S23 Ultra, so it's the biggest stream on the market. So it's it really,
your carrots. You've got eagle vision, man.
I will
like
say
I had the Ben, yes.
Oh, I just not to derail us too much, but you reminded me just talking about early impressions that this is unfair to the Great Muppet Caper, but I had a false impression of what this whole movie was, where I thought it was going to be about the Muppets pulling off like a jewel heist. Like I thought they were going to be like Ocean's 11ing it, and I was like so ready for Kermit to be like climbing through a vent or something and like trying to steal a jewel, and they're they have to have some sort of moral standing in their world. So it makes a lot more sense that they're going to try to prevent a jewel heist. But, and maybe you felt this way too, Alex, like there wasn't a ton of capering. They really there's only a real caper cooking.
There's two, three technically heists.
Yeah.
There's two major ones we see. There's the very first one during the song.
Yeah, that's right. In the very beginning, we see one on the kind of like, and I love how sort of, how deliberately kind of artificial, like the studio sort of like exterior streets look in that scene, where it's like we're on the back lot, like we're gonna put on a show for you, and we're playing these different characters, and like get ready because now we're gonna tell this story where a bunch of crazy stuff. I don't want to get into it too much yet because Matt will guide us, but yeah, I had a feeling that like very early on, I was like, "Oh, this is a very kind of different movie than what I expected."
Yeah, I think they still give us some capery moments. Like we're able to still get the prison scene with Miss Piggy. And
yes,
like the interview scene or the visitation scene between her and Kermit or Rosenthal. So like a lot of the aesthetics are still there, but yeah, the true capering doesn't really happen until maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes. But in place of that, we get all these epic grand musical numbers. We get Piggy underwater.
That was crazy when she had air coming out of her snout.
Yes.
I was like, this is wild. I've never seen something like this before.
Yeah, like counter to Alex's experience, I feel like, I noticed the moments when like the tech or when the puppetry was in a place of, I guess they didn't have a method for this, but I think I had a more optimistic stance where I was more so wowed by certain things that I couldn't figure out, like the bubbles or like most of the underwater sequence, or even just things that I could figure out, but was just very impressed by how they achieved it. Like just really quick cutting to mask moments when like maybe they're throwing the actual puppet as opposed to actually having someone puppeteer. But
when
then
Gonzo jumps in front of the cab, I laughed so hard. That was so funny.
There's a few scenes where people are like fighting them and they like throw, like they'll throw and you're like, that's so obviously just the puppet.
It's just someone threw that thing. The whole movie ends, spoiler alert, with Muppets getting thrown out of a plane. Like people, I think Jim Henson probably loved to have his Muppets, his creations just tossed around. And like you said, Matt, underwater, I mean, I kept thinking, like, how do you dry one of these? How do you dry a Muppet? Do you hang it on a clothesline? Like, the felt probably gets, like, how absorbent
Soggy
is
Muppet
it?
Sounds like a great name for a punk band.
Soggy Muppet would be great. But yeah, I just wonder,
or ska, more appropriate.
Like, these things, they didn't seem, I'm sure they have different variations for the same characters, but they didn't seem afraid of, like, really messing around with them a little bit in this movie.
And like, especially what gets me is the shot when Piggy comes out of the water and she's dry, which I can only assume they shot in reverse.
They did. You can notice it earlier in the shot. I rewatched that scene because at the beginning of the scene, there's something that like teed me off to thinking that. So I rewatched it a couple of times and I was like, yeah, they definitely did the majority of that scene in reverse. Like that whole spot of them leading up to her was done in reverse because you can tell there's something about the girls too. That there's like, you're like, they shot this in reverse.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I was impressed with the human actors at how good their reverse acting and their reverse swimming was, because I wasn't tipped off at all. I was only tipped off when she came out of the water and she was dry, and the sparklers seemed to be going backwards for their sparkling. Yoda from Mark also points out climbing the drain pipe would have been difficult. Actually, kind of in a similar scene when she's crawling on the ground, on the floor, like behind the dining room from John Cleese and his wife. That was one that I couldn't quite piece together or figure out.
Yeah.
You can see the ground, but you can't really see track of Piggy going back. Anyway, I'm curious to know what was everyone's. Oh, there's so many things to discuss. Let's talk about the human actors. Okay, before we get to the two main ones, Diana Rigg and Charles Gordon. What's his name, Ben? What's Charles?
Oh, Grodin, Charles Grodin.
Nicky.
Nicky.
There is
Nicky.
Yes. And there is a Jack Warden who maybe we'll talk about too, Matt, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, I want to talk about the cameos first before we talk
Yeah.
about the main human actors. What was everyone's favorite cameo performance? Whether it was Watchman, who apparently was in Princess Bride. My personal pick is the John Cleese scene, which Alex kind of alluded to, that he found it pseudo humorous because I mentioned to Alex that I think that scene is like almost rolling on the floor laugh worthy from start to finish. It's just so.
I never said pseudo humorous. It's perfectly humorous. Just that the Steve Martin cameo was more funny to me.
Yeah. In my mind, the John Cleese scene is more funny, but tomato, tamatoa. Yeah. I think that scene's hilarious. Just the dry delivery that's coming from both of them, especially the woman. I have no idea who she is outside of this Muppet movie, but the casting is just so spot on because it almost feels like she doesn't know she's in a Muppet movie, which makes it so much better. And I adore it. But what was everyone's favorite?
Are you talking about Holiday, Matt?
No.
Woman,
Or no, not Holiday. What John Cleese's wife?
Oh, John Cleese's wife. Yeah, she's so good.
Yes, I think her name is Dorcas. Yes, Dorcas. How the pets are dead and the butler's been discharged.
Yeah,
it's like I thought you said the pets were dead. That was so funny. Jeanette, who's your favorite cameo?
I'm gonna have to probably agree with Alex. It's probably Steve Martin. So yeah, I mean that's pretty easy.
He's not in this movie though,
isn't he? No, he's not. Is he not? He's in the first one. He's not in this one. Am I imagining things? Okay, well then it's John Cleese.
Good,
because that was my second choice. What's funny about John Cleese is I felt like he was very reserved, John Cleese, in this. Like I didn't really feel like he was being as John Cleese-y as he could have been. Like. So that was kind of funny because he was really acting to me. He wasn't just being John Cleese. He was really acting with this partner in that scene. So forgive my mix up with Steve Martin, but I'll choose Steve Martin most times. Also, can I say there were not nearly as many cameos in this movie as there were in the first movie. Am I wrong? Or was it just not as many people that I recognized? Like you don't have a Richard Pryor in this movie. You don't have a Dom DeLuise. You don't I noticed so many more people.
Was a cameo, but I didn't recognize any of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This one I only recognized maybe two people, John Cleese. And then Yoda for Mark pointed out that Rigg was also in Worst Witch, which I haven't seen since I was a tiny little kid, but very true, and that might be where I knew her face from.
She was in Game of Thrones.
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Nope.
She's great in Game of Thrones, though.
I want them to know it was me.
I tried 2 or 3 times, and I just couldn't get through the first step.
And Bond, too.
Oh, no, you got to get through the first 3, and you also have to have someone next to you to explain everything.
Somebody's like, you've got to choke this medicine down, and then you'll really love the side effects. I can't do it.
It's like heroin. You really have to stick with it.
Okay.
Nah, man.
Vince, who's your favorite cameo in this movie?
Look, I know I said this before. I got to go with Peter Falk. You know, the idea of him coming out of nowhere and spewing this incredible story about the dry cleaning business. He loses it all. His rival down the street buys him out, and he gets into the glass slipper business. I was dying. I had to go back. And also, I know I'm sure there's like plenty of people in this situation, but the idea of someone with Peter Falk's cadence walking around London is so funny to me. Whereas people from London walking around here is kind of normal. But I don't know, like this country invented English, and then Peter Falk comes over and he's talking like this, you know, and it's I don't know. That's just funny. Me, though. Yeah, Peter Falk was good. Diana Rigg was great. Loved her. I recognized her immediately. Apparently, she was in a show called The Avengers, but it's not Marvel's The Avengers.
Oh, yes. That's the other play. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was also in a
Ah.
really great movie with, I think it's Vincent Price.
Oh wait,
where
did she
she's
also
killing a
play
bunch of
Catwoman?
people, Shakespeare themed. No, she wasn't. I don't think she was.
No. Okay.
She was a Bond girl too. I'm pretty sure. I think she was in on Her Majesty's Secret Service. But don't quote me on that. I think that's the one she's in. If Anna's still here, she could verify.
Anna, verify. I still yet to see any Bond movies one day.
You could do 25 episodes, Matt.
I do have Bond on my short list of marathons I want to do. So who knows? Let's see. Ben, who was your favorite cameo?
Well, I definitely loved seeing Peter Falk. I was so excited and so surprised that I immediately filmed my TV and sent it to Anna, and I was like, check out who's in this, because she's a huge Columbo fan. So it was great seeing him, and I love how Kermit is like we're making a movie, like you're not a part of this at all. Like he's just like, it's like he's stumbled into like a moment that's removed from the movie to talk about his failed dry cleaning business. And
Oh, it's like he's
like,
literally just a weirdo in the park.
yeah, just
they're
stumbling
shooting a
in.
movie and this guy came in.
I love that. And then, but I also loved seeing Jack Warden as their editor at the newspaper at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
he's the guy that's like hitting the desk and like Gonzo's flying in the air.
That scene was hilarious. Every time he hit the desk and something goes, I'm like, what?
He's in one of my favorite movies of all time called
Problem
Being
Child?
There. And he's in Problem Child, my favorite movie of all time. but it just barely surpasses Problem Child 2. He's in a movie called Being There. I don't know if you guys have seen Being There, and he delivers one of my favorite lines in any movie ever, the final line of that movie. And I was I was just so surprised that he was in this. I had no idea. So it was great to see him saying kind of beautiful philosophical things in Being There. And then in this, he's slamming his fist on the table and he's launching Muppets into the sky.
Perfectly balanced.
Yeah,
things should be.
Jack Warden was also in one of my favorite comedies of all time. He played Norm Macdonald's father in Dirty Work.
Oh, he's his dad in that.
Oh my god, yeah.
He definitely had a type going into the movie, I feel, as the grumpy old grandfather, as perfected in Problem Child. I just really like Problem Child.
But that kid was evil, Matt.
No, he was misunderstood. What was evil? It was John Ritter's wife in the first movie.
Yeah,
She
John
was
Ritter's.
And also his wife in real life, but in real life she seemed lovely. Problem Child 2, though, that's where it's at. That was the good Problem Child. Yeah.
Is it a trilogy? I don't remember.
It is, except the third one replaced all of the cast except for the guy we're talking about as the grandpa.
They should reboot it, but like use the same child actor, and it's Problem Adults, and it's the same character, but he's in his like 40s now. I think that it would be a huge box office smash.
I would love that. Oscars 2025. There we are. What's this? Used cars. Contents. I don't know any of these movies or words. Jack Warden. Woo. I love him. Alex, what was your favorite cameo? Or was it also Peter Falk from The Princess Bride?
I'm going to attempt to cancel out the echoes here. I don't know if this is working or not.
Well, I see you dim the lights. That'll help.
All right. I mean, I didn't dim the lights, but thank you for noticing. So I'm going to assume this is working. So if Jack counts, then I'm... Oh, Jeanette is shaking her head. It seems like it is not working.
It's not.
I don't know if that means...
You have a very radio voice with it. Though.
Yeah, it sounds like NPR.
Oh, okay. All right. How about maybe just talking low? Is the echo back now?
It's better. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, whatever.
This is kind of a pleasant level.
Now you're
okay.
We like it. We like it.
Okay, so we'll stay with the joke is / the answer is Jack, if that counts. It makes a brief appearance at the beginning of the film. Yeah. But if the Jack / Sweetums doesn't count, then I did like the bit in like the second half of the movie with that one gray curly haired individual who says, "I'm here for," or like he's with the trash can guy, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm here for a brief cameo," and he's like, "So am I," or whatever.
Did
I
you
like
just
that guy.
refer to
too.
Oscar the Grouch as the trash can guy?
Yes.
Yeah, if you probably gun to my head, I would have guessed Oscar. I'm pretty sure that's what I thought in my head when I saw him. I'm like, is that Oscar? But I couldn't swear by it. So he's the guy in the camp.
I think that's the guy you're talking about, the cement truck driver.
No, the cement truck driver. No, because the cement truck driver, unless
Isn't that who
the cement
Piggy
truck.
hijacks to? And then
Yes, but the thing. Oh wait, you're right. Sorry, no, you're right. That's my bad. Yeah, she throws him out, and then he meets Oscar the Grouch. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our two main human actors. So we have Diana Rigg as Lady Holiday, and her American brother, Charles. What's his last name?
Grodin.
Charles
Yeah.
Grodin from Beethoven as her American brother Nicky Holiday. Which did anyone notice the door in his office says something like impertinent parasite?
Yeah.
Yes, which is hilarious.
That's good.
Like, I think these two performances are really fascinating. Like I said at the beginning, I think this is really the first time we're seeing what can happen when you have humans engaging with Muppets in a narrative context. But like, there's this meme that circulates every once in a while that I always make a point of sharing. So if anyone pays attention to what I share on Facebook, you might have seen it. It said that Michael Caine worked so well in Muppet Christmas Carol because he treated the Muppets like other human actors, and Tim Curry worked so well in Treasure Island because he treated himself like a fellow Muppet. And I almost feel like that's what we're getting between these two performances. I feel like Diana Rigg is treating all of them like humans, and Charles is acting like a Muppet the whole way through.
Yeah.
And
like if there was a sleazy Muppet, it's him. Like he's the sleazeball Muppet in this movie.
So between the two, which performance hit it home more for you? Like the general you? I can't pick right now. So we'll start with Jeanette. Between the two, which style, what do you prefer to see when you have a human acting opposite a Muppet? And what's like a specific example from one of these two performances that you really loved?
So it's got to be Charles Grodin. He's the thing that I remember the most about this movie as a kid. And it might be because he was also in Beethoven and I was watching that movie simultaneously as this movie as a child. So like he is one of those actors that's just like eternally in my brain. And he's always like dad. So this stuck out, right? Because I was like, he's edgy and cool. And he was obviously supposed to be like a little sexy in this movie. And the thing that sticks out to me is not just one specific scene, but if I've ever been so taken with someone's tone in their voice in a movie, because he's doing this, he's saying a lot with his tone. Like he's being over the top, he's being melodramatic and like soap opera-y, which is what makes him the Muppet-y thing, right? And then, but he's also being like, you can hear the fakeness, but also hear the thing that's convincing the person he's talking to. So like when he's talking to his accomplices and he's like, oh, I just love her so much, and you're like, I can hear the sarcasm in your voice. And then when he's talking to Piggy, or like down to when he's looking, that scene where I think my favorite line, when she's like, I can feel it breathing down my neck. And he goes, it's not breathing down your neck. And he like gets closer to her neck and is like saying it very breathily. Like I just like it's so simple and classic and easy. So yeah, I liked that about his performance because it was like he was putting layers into just with his tone of voice.
He's just so committed. It's so ridiculous, and he's so committed to it. Yeah, the thieves are breathing down your neck is a personal favorite. I think my favorite Charles Grodin moment is non-verbal. It's when he first discovers Piggy while she's dancing. It's his like West Side Story, Tony seeing Maria moment, and you just see the love in his eyes, and he's just
when they do the head tilt thing, and
she's incredible. Yes, so good. Ben, how about you? Are you more Camp Rigg or Camp Grodin?
It's really hard for me, like you, Matt, to choose. I think that they're both doing exactly what they need to be doing in the movie, and I like that they're kind of taking sort of either side of how you interact with Muppets in a movie. I think that Jeanette did a great job sort of justifying like Grodin in the movie and like why he's so fantastic in that role. So I'll talk about Diana Rigg a little bit. I love the kind of like groundedness that she brings to her role in all amidst all the absurdity. Like I love that she when we first meet her, she almost reminded me a little bit of Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread or something. Like she's just this like super particular fashion designer, and she's kind of like fussy about how everything needs to be perfect, and she's like a very serious character. And I love when, just to think of a moment that kind of stood out, is like when we first really get to know her is when Piggy is interviewing for a job, or I don't even know if she's not interviewing, she's just begging for a job basically. and hearing all the demands that she's going to put on Piggy, and then at the same time complaining about her brother and explaining what's been going on with this heist that transpired at the beginning. I mean, she has to deliver, like her character says in the scene, a slew of exposition. It's got to go somewhere.
Part was my favorite Diana Rigg part, when she goes, "Well, honey, it's exposition. It has to go somewhere.
It has to go somewhere." And
So
to be able to do that, and and to do it with like credibly in a movie that is as kind of silly and full of jokes as this one is, like I really just generally lean towards that. I think that the comedy really, for me, is elevated when the Muppets are surrounded by sort of grounded human characters. But I do not want to take anything away from Charles Grodin, because he, I've seen him in movies like, I don't know if you guys have seen The Heartbreak Kid, I think from the 70s, the Elaine May movie. They remade it, like the Farrelly brothers made it years later, but he plays such a kind of like seething, desperate character in that. And he kind of brings some of that energy into this Muppet movie. And I found that like extra hilarious too. So I think in general, my preference is the former, is the kind of Diana Rigg sort of method, if you want to call it that. But I really enjoyed both of them in this particular movie.
Well said. I agree wholeheartedly. I feel like, Ben, you eloquently said everything that I would have said. So, and I
love you, Matt. I love talking Muppets with all you guys.
It's like
Muppets
sparking. With you.
I haven't really been able to really dig into Muppets with anyone, and this is like the crew to do it with. Yeah.
You mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, which I haven't seen, but my comparison that came to mind was Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shared a thing on Instagram yesterday saying Lady Holiday walked so Miranda Priestley could run. And it's just specifically that scene when she's on the phone and she's just so effortlessly adjusting the outfits in the most ridiculous ways possible, like cutting the woman's hair, throwing ink on the other woman, and just everyone's applauding. Like, the sheer commitment to it.
Yeah.
So good. So funny.
It's really fun to see Henson directing human beings too in roles like this that are a little sometimes kind of like darker or weirder. Like there's things that are just like, it's just interesting to see, especially when there's scenes that have like several humans in them, kind of what he's doing with them. Because we just always think of him as like dealing with puppets. So,
the puppet. Yeah. Alex, how about you? Are you more a fan of the Charles method or the Diana method?
Well, I believe I went on a rant previously against Charles, so I don't know how.
I don't want to assume.
Yeah, but so I would say we're calling her Diana.
Diana Rigg or Lady Holiday?
Yeah, so for Diana, as far as I could tell, as far as I remember, I don't recall a great amount of scenes where she's acting opposite a Muppet. She has as from what I remember, she has a brief scene with Miss Piggy, and then more or less she's commenting on Miss Piggy, and then I don't think she talks to Miss Piggy when the diamonds are planted on her. I think she just proclaims that Miss Piggy stole the diamonds. But yeah, so all of that is to say is that I don't know that I would look at that performance as a reflection of humans acting off of Muppets per se. But I did really enjoy her performance. And I didn't really enjoy the guy's performance. I am somewhat curious to unpack that. I did get, like, I appreciate some of the points that were made to an extent. Like, obviously he played sleazy quite well, because that's the only kind of really emotive thing that I picked up from him. But to me, I don't know. Yes, I guess I'd have to kind of look back on that performance, maybe go watch it again and try to be more charitable with it and try to see more like choices being made, because again, my general vibe with that role was that he more or less just like I didn't get a lot from it. I got an actor, and I also don't. I feel like I might not have ever seen him in any other role as well, which might be relevant here in terms of if you guys have experience with him elsewhere. But yeah, but because I don't think I've seen him in another thing, all I have is this to go on, and I wasn't seeing a lot of choices. I was seeing an actor like I described, like Harrison Ford, off camera, more or less just coming in and not doing a whole heck of a lot. So yeah. Also, unfortunately, I'm going to actually have to step away for the remainder of the night. So it's with sadness, because I am genuinely interested in having discussions of these kinds where I'm divided from the rest of the people, and I can entertain contradictory opinions. But maybe I'll send some of my whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going now. 111th birthday.
Bye, Alex.
Where did he? I'm so confused. Okay.
I
We
hope
lost
everything's
Muppet.
okay.
Mass confusions.
So much confusion. Maybe he's having a rendezvous with Vince.
Yeah, what happened to Vince?
Oh, where's
Oh,
Vince?
Yeah, apparently Vince's power went out.
Oh,
Are there
no.
storms?
No. Maybe. Who knows? Who's to say? I don't know if the game will work with two people. Well, whatever. We'll make it
We'll
work.
see. Maybe Vince will get back online. I hope that Alex, if you hear this, I hope everything's all right.
Yes.
He said something about a birthday. What did that mean?
Oh, did you say a birthday? I didn't hear.
I don't know.
Turned into incoherent mumbling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, Muppets.
Muppets, baby.
Muppets. I'm curious to know. The next thing I want to talk about were the musical numbers, just because I love them ever so much. I
Yes.
much prefer the soundtrack to this film as a whole over the Vince is back, woot, over the Muppet movie.
Vince.
Yay!
All right, folks, we've got a hell of a thunderstorm
I was
in
like,
Scarborough, Canada.
Are we getting it? Ben?
I don't know if you guys are getting it. I'm
checking the weather, guys. Let's see. Because I'm not far from Scarborough. I'm in the East End. It's cloudy. I can't really
You
tell
guys
from my window.
and your
but
thunderstorms and
Oh,
your
it's
heat.
coming. The cold
Talking
winds
to
are
this-
rising, Ben.
yeah, the cold
Oh.
winds.
Vince, you missed it. We lost Alex, but we gained you.
Oh, great!
There we
You
go.
lost me though, so you're still one step back.
That's okay. We can play the game now.
We can play the game. Play the
Wait,
game.
hang on. Before we get in the game, I have an
No,
important.
not yet.
Oh, not yet.
okay,
Not
okay.
yet. No. We're talking musical numbers now. I was saying I personally prefer this soundtrack overall to the Muppet movie soundtrack, even though Rainbow Connection kind of trumps everything, in my humble opinion, as a song. But overall, the musical numbers, I love this movie.
But
So I want to know.
Can you picture that though, Matt? Can you picture that? Moving right along.
Moving right along
those
is great.
classics.
Fine. You know what it is? I think another reason I love this movie so much compared to other Muppet movies is that it has this level of grandeur and like Hollywoodness to it, because I think because it's taking place in England and in Europe, and it's all very extravagant, and we get those big show-stopping numbers like either in tuxes or in the water, compared to the other movies that take place in like all over America and or New York City. Like I don't so much care for the Muppets when they're in gritty 1980s America. I want Muppets in fantastical, like show busy settings.
So even though the Muppets took Manhattan, you'd rather that they take Berlin.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Before the wall falls.
That's it. 100%. So yeah, what was everyone's favorite musical number in this movie?
I will go. I really loved Happiness Hotel. That was probably my favorite one. That's definitely my favorite one.
It's
for
a
sure.
bop.
That one gave me all like that whole scene, like I said, gave me the Muppet Vision 3D vibes. Like just like walk into this zany space and see what happens. And then there was a little song, and Rizzo was in it. That was probably another reason that gave me those vibes. Yeah. So anywhere I can get a Rizzo, that's awesome.
And a bunch of Rizzos carrying a suitcase.
Yes. Yeah,
Was
and
this
like
like
early
Rizzo's-
Rizzo, which looks so different. Like early Rizzo to me looks like a kangaroo because his haunches are so big and his head's so little. I don't know why he looks like a little tiny kangaroo to me.
Was this Rizzo's first appearance in a Muppet thing? Or is Rizzo here, or is this just kind of the Rizzo rat like design?
I think
I don't think
he
he's
might have
made
been on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember.
Maybe?
I never
I'm
like
gonna
I never
Google it,
saw
'cause-
him until I saw Muppet Christmas Carol. That's when I first
So
saw
that's
him.
that's his first major role, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. As far as like being a main character, having speaking roles, being important to the storyline, as far as I can remember. But he was a major, or no, Pepe the Prawn was a major player too. Maybe
in
I'm
Muppets
getting
from
them-
Space, right?
on,
I remember
no, on the show, the 90s
Oh.
nighttime
Oh,
show.
the '90s show, Muppets.
because he
Tonight,
doesn't exist yet. He's not born during Muppet Great Muppet Caper. He hasn't been born
No.
yet.
No.
But Rizzo,
Steve
you know, shows.
Whitmire.
Oh
voiced him
yeah,
until 2016.
yeah.
First appearance 1980, The Muppet Show. So
Oh,
very
so he was
shortly
on the
before
show.
this, on The Muppet Show. But I'd say this was his first appearance in a film. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I wonder if 1980 was the last season of the Muppet Show, because I think the Caper was the first like post Muppet Show project. I'm pretty sure. I think it came out right after the show ended. So
81.
yeah, so I think that Rizzo
May
maybe
of
was like a
81.
late addition to the Muppet family.
God, Muppets
For
Tonight was
time.
only 96 to 98. Why do I feel like that ate up so much more of my youth? It really
Maybe
did.
because yeah, you were the right age for Muppets Tonight, probably.
Muppets Tonight
'cause,
was
you
Oh
know,
my
great.
God.
Muppets
Yeah.
Tonight was like
Yes.
what I did Friday nights. during
Yeah.
the year. It was so good.
I think I
It's
watched
way
that
too
Prince
young.
episode. Like, they rerun that so much. I love that episode.
So good. Vince, what was your favorite musical sequence in this movie?
You know what? As a guy who wasn't a big Miss Piggy fan in the first film, I'm doing a bit of a turnaround here because her number where she was doing the synchronized swimming and stuff, that really impressed me. You know, and it was a very good Miss Piggy number. I was baffled by how they did the effects, and then you guys kind of spoiled the surprise by saying they reversed the film. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
That made it
And I
more
went to
magic.
film school.
That was
So
just
how'd I?
that was just for one moment, though. We don't know how they did the
It's
rest.
something about the way the girl's hair fell that I thought about.
Mhm.
I was like, what teed me off? It was that. It was the way the girl's hair was falling. Not even the fact that it was dry, but like I could see the girl's hair, the way it was falling. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's
Mm.
not the way hair goes.
I wonder if they ruined a piggy puppet for that one.
I think they did.
The one
I
Or
think
they
they
made it out of
decimated
something
that
different.
puppet.
Or maybe that's the same puppet that they eventually used for the underwater shots, but that was probably the only take they had to get a piggy wet. And then they had wet piggy.
Don't say that in the wrong tone. That sounds sick.
Can you put a
That's a wet
Muppet in a
piggy.
dryer? I don't know.
You can. It
I
just
think the foam melts.
Like,
Yeah.
I think Muppets might be air dry only.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yep.
Imagine if you have to wring them out. How sick that must feel.
Oh, to like twist and like all the water. Yeah,
Oh.
I'd love to ring a Muppet. I think that would be so satisfying.
Depend on the Muppet, though. Actually, I think all of them would be fine. They'd be able to take it. Although some of them,
I
like
think
Gonzo, I think
Gonzo,
it would kill Gonzo. Like his
It would-
nose. It looks very...
Gonzo can withstand a lot, and Gonzo, by
Yeah,
the way,
since
has
Gonzo
like
gets beat up the most.
he has like a death drive in this movie. Like at the beginning, he's like, "How
Every
long can I
movie he
jump out of this
does.
balloon until I black out?" And then he's leaping in front of the cab, like we
I
talked
think
about.
that's why I
Like
love Gonzo so
he's
much.
just like committing so much like violence to himself or suggesting it, and I worry for him and his his little body. And he's got little blue jeans on in this movie. I don't think I've ever seen Gonzo wear
his
jeans
outfit
before.
changes
Yeah.
so much, and like Gonzo in the first movie is so he's like the original Simpsons. When you see them, you're like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
That looks really different.
Yeah.
When you see Gonzo in the first Muppet movie compared to this one where he's so much more streamlined.
Yeah.
The first movie with that like, it's like, oh my god.
But it's not as off-putting as Muppet Show era Gonzo, like original.
Oh,
Gonzo.
I know. Just in general, it's like, oh my god, Gonzo gets so much better with time.
Oh, Yoda from Mark brings up a good point with the cameo. Christine Nelson, so the girl who says, "Look, Dad, it's a bear." No, sweetie, that's a frog. Bears have hats. So she was the daughter of puppeteer Jerry Nelson. She died like a year or two after this, and so she was given the role and given a speaking role specifically by Jim Henson so that she could join the Actors Union. Even though they kind of knew that she didn't have a ton of time at that point, but it was kind of like a bucket list thing for her to be an actor and to be in a movie, and that's
a great story. I didn't.
Wow,
That's
way
such
to
a
make
good
this
bit
really
in the
great
movie
movie
too.
depressing.
Hey, as long as she paid her union dues,
oh,
because
I'm
they'll,
sure
bears
they'll
wear
follow
hats.
you into the afterlife.
oh my god. Ben, what was your favorite musical number?
Well, if I'm being honest with you, I'd have to agree with Vince that the kind of Miss Piggy showstopper synchronized swimming number is my favorite. I enjoyed is it Happiness Hotel? Is that the name of the song? Enjoyed that. That was a standout. I think I'm going to kind of throw some novelty in it. I was surprised by the song. I think it's Electric Mayhem who's singing it, but they're on the bus and they're singing about the nightlife.
Oh, right.
And I'm just like, never really heard Muppets singing about the nightlife. And it's kind of like, it's a little bit like off key on purpose, kind of like there's something kind of weird about it. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it did stand out to me. I was like, this is kind of an unusual sound for a Muppet song, even for an Electric Mayhem song.
Yeah.
I'm shocked no one has mentioned my favorite, so I happily will, which is The First Time It Happens, which is the song when Piggy like has her first big show-stopping moment when Charles Grodin falls in love with her at the supper club. First off, just because I love a good song and dance movie musical tap number as much as the next person, but the fact that it's as good as I feel most movie musical numbers are, but with Muppets pretty well keeping up with the humans. So good. Musically, it's so impressive. And then just kind of trying to figure out how they coordinated all the dancers alongside having space for the puppeteers to just exist was outstanding. That sequence is like, it might rank as one of my favorite Muppet sequences, if not movie musical sequences ever. I need time to reassess, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like a magic trick a little, Matt, doesn't it? Like how they pull stuff like that off. Like it's kind of amazing.
Exactly. And like you have there's that one dancer that does a flip over top of Piggy.
Yeah.
Piggy puppet is there, and like how? Like what is the platform? Where is the puppeteer? How is any of this happening? I don't know.
The opening number is also kind of that way. I was like, how are we doing some of these things? Just Gonzo in the first number though, like just him, what he's doing with the whole like say cheese, like every time that he's, I don't know. The opening number was like cliche musical, so that's why it's like not necessarily my favorite, but it's also it just sticks in your brain, and it's like the most quintessential musical style number of just large numbers of people dancing down a street.
Except one of them's covered in paint.
Yes, I did. I'm so glad you brought that up because I had forgotten. But when I was watching it, I was like, "That lady just get paint all over her," and it was like she didn't care. I was like, "I wonder if that was planned."
Oh, that had to be planned. She was.
I hope, but maybe I was like,
I just kept wondering if that was her real hair or if they gave her a wig to get covered in paint.
It was good.
I hope it was a wig. Oh, shout out also to how about a photo of you and your wife? My wife isn't feeling well. Oh, maybe she's at home. My wife is at home.
That was pretty scandalous. I was
yes.
like, either this was extremely more acceptable or they were trying to be edgy. Like,
it's pretty edgy. I appreciated that. I was like, this joke is like, this is going to probably go over some young children's heads. And I like that, I always forget. I didn't watch the Henson documentary yet. And I know you guys discussed it last. Did they talk at all about kind of his early, like, sort of like avant-garde experimental work?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like we're so used to, not with just Jim Henson and his work, but the Muppets in general, sort of like boxing them in sometimes to be like children's entertainers. Mm-hmm. And I get the feeling that all the original people, kind of the creative people spearheading the Muppets, were always trying to break against that break out of that
Yeah.
box and putting them on SNL or like putting these kinds of jokes in that are like a little more adult. I appreciate that they were really trying to kind of make the Muppets like a troupe for everybody, you know? And so that a joke like that kind of reminds me like, oh yeah, like this is sort of like where they could take them sometimes.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
love that moment for that exact reason. It feels very true to what I feel Jim wanted to do with the Muppets, just to have it kind of walk that line. And it did. I almost wanted more of that.
And
Also-
Jim was
Yeah.
in that scene,
Yes,
right?
no,
Like
I
you get
did
to
see
see
my-
him.
That.
Yeah.
I
Which
couldn't
I think
believe.
this
I
was
was like,
post his own divorce too. So that's
really?
interesting. I think so. Were they divorced? I think they were divorced at this point.
No, I thought that
No,
was
not yet.
wasn't it later? I can't remember. Another documentary told us, but I can't remember.
They did, but maybe I'm getting because they did. They weren't giving. It wasn't a documentary like they put a year on the screen every time something. They kind of kept.
Yeah, it wasn't
They
linear.
fluctuated a bit.
Ben, I'd be fascinated to hear your thoughts on the doc whenever you get a chance to watch it. It's very good. It's highly recommended.
oh yeah, it's brand new, right? I feel like it just came
Oh, yeah.
out in the last couple weeks. Yeah,
It was the
I'm
end.
curious.
Yeah,
Did
sure.
Ron
was
Howard
very-
direct it, or am I making that
Yep.
up?
He did.
No, he did.
Did
It's
a
very,
great job.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me that there's oh, you should read this comment first, Matt, then I'll
Oh,
tell
yes.
you.
I can't believe Alex fell for the whole bad microphone bit. I hope he doesn't find out it was fine and it was just a way to get him to leave.
I hope Alex is all right.
I'm sure.
It reminds me of how I just forgot about this, but have you guys heard of a thing called the blacklist in sort of Hollywood and screenplays?
Oh, yeah.
It's this every year they have the unproduced screenplays, and it's sort of a ranked thing that people in the industry do, and like every year they'll be like sort of, oh, this was the one that got the most votes or whatnot of unproduced screenplays per year, and a lot of them end up getting made eventually. And I remember in like I want to say 2010 maybe, the winner of the blacklist that year was a movie called The Muppet Man, and it was like a biopic about Jim Henson. And I think you could find this. It will never get made, the screenplay, but it sort of tries to take his real life and sort of fold in the Muppets like as though they're sort of real, you know. And so it will have these like really like pretty devastating scenes of Jim Henson on his deathbed, and then like the Muppets will like come into the hospital and stuff.
Oh,
Like it's
God.
like it's pretty
Oh,
out there,
God.
but it was like really emotionally affecting, I think, for a lot of people. And I guess I bring this up because I'm like, well, we'll probably never get sort of like, you know, at least for some time, like that kind of biopic for Jim Henson. But it's great that
That's
they've
what
made
we
this
need.
documentary.
That is what.
Yeah, I like it for, you know, get a little weird with it. Why not? I feel like
Yeah.
he would appreciate that, you know.
Did you read it then? Like, did you actually?
I
get to
did.
read it?
I read it like 14 years ago or something. It was a long time ago. But if you Google the Muppet Man Blacklist screenplay, anyone watching who's curious, you could probably find it online still. And I think it was the one that year that like got the most votes as the best unproduced script. So
You know what's the most disturbing part of the story you just told me?
what's that?
Why?
Is that when you said 14 years ago,
Yeah.
that still means, what is that? That's
2010.
2000.
2010.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm making sure I was right before I said it out loud. That's 2010.
That was when I was
I know.
in my first degree.
That's
That's
what
right, Matt.
hurts
Matt and
my
I
brain.
graduated together.
Yeah, you were there. You know,
Walking the
Oh,
hall,
my-
the great hallowed halls of
we
York
were
University.
walk in the halls. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. As soon as you said that, I'm like 14 years ago. Oh,
No.
2004.
Sorry
I was like,
to-
nope, 2010.
Age us
Just a
all. I
few- just a whoop.
apologize. Yeah, but I it does make me, you know, I've always had in the back of my head like I don't really know a lot about Jim Henson as a man. Like I know that I feel like what I know of him is kind of through the work, like his sense of humor and things like that. But
He had a complicated marriage. Movie
yeah,
certainly taught us that.
didn't really know that
Complicated,
either.
but pretty devoted. Like, I feel like obviously he was a workaholic, but like for all definable and evidenceable things, not unloyal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was
I
one of
don't
the things that we kind of discussed last week with the dog
Mhm.
was questioning how maybe sugar-coated it may have been in protecting certain elements of that relationship and like how much did they actually show us versus what was the reality of
I
it.
think he just was a workaholic,
Hmm.
which doesn't make you that doesn't make you a great partner, but it also doesn't make you an untrustworthy partner. You know,
Oh,
He
yeah.
loved
talk-
the Muppets more than her.
that's kind of I'm like, so yeah, he was neglectful. I think is the best.
But they were his children, Vince.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Oh.
You have to put your children first.
But he had like 4 human children.
But he
They all,
put
went into
second.
they all went into the Muppet business.
Yeah. Did they talk to Frank Oz?
Oh yeah,
Because it's interesting. Because Frank Oz, I feel like he's had such a fascinating career too, where he's gone on to direct all kinds of movies that you go, wait, Frank Oz directed such and such.
Can I'm sorry. On that
Yeah.
note, when I looked that up last week, can Frank Oz directed In and Out with Kevin Kline?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
He did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. With
I
Steve
love
Martin.
that movie.
He did
I
Dirty
would've
Rotten
never-
Scoundrels. He did Little Shop of Horrors. I'm pretty sure, which makes sense in a
Did he?
lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
He
But
did
In
the
and Out was
score
like
with Robert De Niro. Speaking of heist
unpredictable.
movies, that's a heist movie with Edward Norton and Robert De Niro, and I think it's like Marlon Brando's like one of his last roles too.
Oh my
Um,
god.
But
Didn't he
he's
do
been,
Death at a Funeral?
and he did the remake of Death at a Funeral.
Yep.
Yeah. Or maybe
I
he
like
did the
that.
original. No, he did the original Death at a Funeral. I'm
Oh.
lying. I'm lying to you. He did the. I'm pretty sure he did the original one. Neil LaBute did the remake. Forget about him. The
I liked
thing
the
about
remake.
Frank Oz though is that I feel like he's very protective and he's very openly critical about Muppets in general and how they're implemented today.
He's openly critical about Disney's use of
Yes,
the Muppet.
specifically
There's a
Disney.
distinct line where
Did you-
Frank Oz.
Did you
has
guys talk
problems.
about that at all in your last
I wasn't
episode?
here last week.
No.
I just know
Like,
this.
how does that make you feel? Because you guys love, Disney stuff, and you love, I'm sure, some of the stuff that Disney's done with the Muppets. Like, I feel like Frank Oz is a genius, and I think he's done some of the best puppeteering work at anyone
Some
on
of
the
the best
planet
voice
that we
work.
know of. An incredible voice work, but I also feel like he's coming from a place of such protectiveness that he can be like a little bit sometimes ungenerous. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen good work done with the Muppets, post 1990 or whenever Disney inherited them or bought them, I guess. But like, I really think that the 2011 Muppet movie was like really charming and felt like a Muppet movie. Like, maybe not. You guys
All
are
right.
kind
I
of
don't
on
think
the
they've
fence.
misused them as bad as he thinks that they have.
Yeah.
But what I find really contradictory and hypocritical about what he's done is he continued to be the voice of Yoda.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say
Yeah.
until 2016. It was after Disney bought them.
Yeah, because he's in the sequel trilogy.
Was he Yoda in Last Jedi?
He was, yeah.
I could
And he
look
did
it
the
up, but I feel like-
puppeteering too.
Yeah, so it's just like why I guess because he doesn't have this. It's still the Henson creature shop, but it's not the Muppet.
Well, I feel like with Star Wars and with Yoda, he's more of just an actor doing a job versus
yes.
a thing
Yeah.
he created
Yeah.
with the Muppets. I don't know.
What were you gonna
I think-
say, Vince?
I
Oh,
just looked it up, and apparently Frank Oz is Jewish. So is it possible that like he didn't like the Walt Disney was like anti-Semitic? Like,
Well,
isn't
Disney
that
at
like,
that point
That
was
would
so
require
dead.
me to agree with that statement in the first place, so I'm not. No comment.
no? I thought it was public record.
No.
Sorry,
No,
hang on. Maybe I'm getting my wires crossed here.
no
But
you're not.
I
There's
do
a lot,
believe
there's
Frank
a lot
Oz
of
is Jewish.
conjecture. There's a lot of conjecture, and there's many things that can be read and interpreted. It's,
Okay, I'll report back next week with the full.
I do recommend you watch my video about whether or not Walt was frozen for a little bit of insight into behind the curtain of was Walt a good person or not. Answer: I don't know, and
Yeah.
no one ever will.
Here's my 9-foot pole and what I'm not touching.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's much that I've liked Muppet-wise since Disney acquired them outside of Muppet Haunted Mansion.
But you love Treasure Island. Where that wasn't Disney yet, though, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
only-
no, it was.
Disney produced it, but they didn't own the Muppets then.
They didn't own the Muppets as a property. It was just a Disney released movie. I
think it was like a Disney Pixar similar thing.
Got
That
it.
was still very much Brian.
Yeah, they
Muppet.
they owned the Muppets. They owned the rights to the Muppet. They owned the Muppets at that point, but they did not own Henson Studios, and they did not own the Creature Shop.
Right.
So they
Now
don't
they
own
own
the
it all?
studios, and the Muppets still needed to be made by the studio. So they were working in and somebody please at me or correct me in the comments. But like
Yeah.
I believe that was the thing. They owned the Muppets, the name, the Muppets,
Got
and the
it.
characters of the Muppets, but they did not own the studio
I
or
see.
the shop or any of the other entities tied into that. Just the Muppets.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because I've definitely, you definitely see differences between some of the more modern Muppet stuff and something like Great Muppet Caper, right? Where it's like it's just coming straight from the source in terms of like they're doing exactly what they want to do with these characters,
Yeah, like I think Mark, who's not here tonight, sadly, I hope we get Mark at some point over the next
I do
2
too.
weeks that we still have for this, who's like the quintessential Muppet expert. He said, I think this is a Mark quote that an observation he made on We Like Theme Parks with Jeanette and Chris Bond and all of our lovely friends there. Maybe it wasn't him, but it seems like a Mark thing though, pointing out that like Piggy and Kermit only worked when it was Frank Oz and Jim Henson working together because of their specific chemistry and how they work together. And once that pairing kind of broke off, the relationship dynamic never really quite clicked. And I think especially now that we have a different Piggy and a different Kermit performer, like Steve is no longer doing Kermit. I'm not sure who's doing Piggy now, but I know it's not Frank Oz. Like we're just so far removed from them that it's just people kind of trying to recapture lightning in a bottle that can't really be recaptured. And so it might have also been a Mark observation or someone else who's a Muppet expert saying that the smart move is to focus on other Muppets like Gonzo. And that's why Muppet Haunted Mansion works so well, is because it's a Gonzo forward narrative. And I think Dave Gomez, that's not his last name. Dave
Goals.
Yeah, like I think he's still
Goals
the
or
original
goats?
Gonzo. I think the original Gonzo performer is still doing Gonzo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Oh, it is. Exactly.
If it's not, it was just recently because I remember something was going on about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
But you love the Muppet Haunted Mansion, man. I remember you telling me about that.
I do, and I think that's why I do. I think that's why it works, because it shifts the focus away from Kermit and Piggy. They're there, but they're kind of set dressing. It makes sense as a Gonzo forward story, and I think for the Muppets to work, I don't know. I think they have to continue to evolve with the performers.
You want to know another reason that you might love Dave Goals?
Why?
So I know that the original one was no, that was the name. That was the voice of Dreamfinder. So Dave Goals is the voice of Figment.
Good.
I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
One little spark. And reservation.
Oh
Vincent,
my God!
you know who Figment is?
He's Waldorf.
It's interesting, Matt, that you mentioned, like maybe the way forward is to kind of focus on other Muppets to kind of like keep it sort of alive, because I feel like the Muppets in general really struggle with relevancy. Like even that 2011 movie is all about if they're like relevant or not anymore. And then it was a huge hit and people were like, oh my God, the Muppets are back. And then they make another movie and then it's like, oh, nobody really saw that. And then they go on to the TV show where they're kind of like working in an office and like they're kind of TV, like, or they're streaming.
That one was awful. That was by far
the
worst iteration of the
Which
Muppets
one?
yet.
Muppets Now or Muppets or the Muppets?
One where they were like, he had an affair with the other pig or something. That was awful.
See, I prefer that to Muppets Now, the Disney Plus series where it's
really?
like, Muppets
I
Now
love
is
that
not
one.
funny. It's not
funny. I love that one.
But it's just interesting that they're kind of constantly sort of fighting this war with like relevance, like where, because they're so, I feel like, universally beloved as a thing. Like people love the Muppets, but they're not. It feels like this kind of constant struggle to like keep them in the spotlight very long. And I don't know what it is about that. Like they're kind of at the same time like timeless, and then also like their sort of relevance will like ebb and flow really drastically.
When they try to make them relevant is when they're not relevant, I find.
Right.
When they do that show where Kermit's he's affairs with some other pig.
So
that is
I can't believe Kermit's having affairs. That's crazy.
Then, like, if you just have the Muppets do a Muppet show, people love them.
Yeah.
Right. Just to have them kind of do their thing. And people
think
love them when they're telling other stories, like when they're kind of
Yeah.
playing characters as Muppets. Like people
And that's
like
only
that a
happened
lot.
twice, really. Like we've only
Mhm.
have Christmas Carol and Treasure Island.
And
I
Caper,
think-
though, too, to a degree, right?
What were you
I don't
gonna
know.
say, Vince?
I think the only way forward is to kill off Kermit in some way, to reintroduce gravity into the situation. You have him fall on a sword so the Muppets can live on. And at some point, you turn this into a whole event, like a 2-part movie, like what Kevin Costner is doing with his
Horizon.
his Western Horizon. Yeah, the 2-part film. It's a thing. It's coming in hot. Kermit, he's gonna die. And at some point in the movie, he travels back in time to try and prevent 9/11, but he learns he can't change the past.
You know,
I will
how I know
say-
they're not going to do that, Vince? Because
How?
they should have done that with The Walking Dead, and they should have killed Rick, and they didn't do it, and they won't do it with Kermit either.
Sure.
They are
Mm.
too scared. They won't do it.
They have to worry about upsetting the kids. Although Kermit, God, it's funny what you mentioned him like having affairs on this sitcom that he was on. Like I always think about Kermit as this kind of like very mild mannered character.
Yeah, that's why that doesn't work at all.
Although in this movie, in Caper, there's the scene right before they ride bikes where he's kind of arguing with her,
Mhm.
and he pulls the line like, "I saw you dancing with that other guy," and I was like,
Yeah.
Kermit, I can't
That's
believe.
a nice guy line, though. That's like the meanest thing a nice guy can say.
I just was like, I was a little bit let down by him and his behavior in that moment. I was like, Kermit,
Oh
come on,
God,
you're better.
Oh,
You're
Ben.
better than this, Kermit.
You're lucky you have Anna. You're so you're so kind. That was like the nicest thing. He's like, I'll let you know I saw you dancing with that guy.
Yeah, I was like, Kermit, this is like textbook like shady behavior. I think I don't know. I feel
Although,
like Kermit,
that was
he needs to have a little more
That
security.
wasn't really from Kermit. That was movie Kermit.
Oh, that's true. That's his character
That's
that he's
the
playing.
character.
Where they're
Oh,
playing.
yeah.
We haven't even talked, Matt. I'm derailing. I'm taking us all over the place.
No.
But before we move on, we haven't talked at all about one of the best jokes of all time, that Kermit and Fozzie are twin brothers in this movie.
Yeah.
And people can only tell when they both have the hats on. Yeah. Nobody can tell when he's got his hat.
It's the picture of
best.
their dad that had me on the floor laughing.
Yeah, the dad.
Oh,
That's like a
my
frog
God.
bear
Yeah.
Muppet. It's so
Terrifying. It's terrifying.
Oh man.
Bears wear hats.
Just to let you know, not only is Dave Gold still the voice of Gonzo, he's so much so that he's still the voice of all the characters he's been the voice of, all the way up to Muppets Mayhem. Like
Wow.
the what you call it show, the one about the band on, and he's also a voice in Inside Out too, I guess.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like he's very active, he's on the new Fraggle Rock. I guess, Matt, did you know about this? In Disneyland in 2021, there was a show at Disney's Merriest Nights where Gonzo and Bunsen Honeydew and Waldorf do a Christmas caroling coaching course.
No.
Never heard about that. Never saw a video. Where was that? I'm like, what? Yeah, I want that.
See more Muppets in the theme parks. More
Yeah,
Muppets.
I do love theme park Muppets. Like they've literally never done anything bad. Even the awful live full body size Muppet show
I
they had
love
back in the
that.
day was still good.
Wait, they had a show that was full body, like people
Like
dressed
they
as
were in
Muppets?
character costumes instead
Yeah.
of being Muppets, and it was kind
amazing.
of terrifying, but it was still, you can find videos of it.
Yeah,
on
Matt,
It's
you
actually
loved
still
it?
Really good.
I did. I remember that's one of my very first memories visiting a Disney theme park was seeing that show. And yeah, I remember Lily Tomlin had a cameo in a video. It was
Mhm.
hilarious. She was a
Yeah,
telephone.
and a monorail comes in through the side of the stage.
That's
Ugh.
cool.
It's hilarious.
There's I distinctly remember, and I don't know why, but little like 3 or 4 year old me thought this was the funniest thing I had ever heard. Kermit's trying to make a phone call, and then Lily Tomlin, as the phone operator, she's like, "Would this be a person to person call?" And he's like, "No, more frog to pig." And
Mm-hmm.
I laughed far too long at that joke as a child. Frog to pig. It was
I love it.
even hilarious. Loved it. Muppets. Can't go wrong. All right, let's go to the game. Woo,
Game
game.
time.
All right. So for those who were not here last week, or Vince, if you don't have whatever his name was, Glovo, I invite you to.
What do you mean? The disrespect. He's an OG. He's been around. He's worked with some of the greatest puppets of all
You're right.
time.
Right. So you have Glovo, so that's good. So Jeanette and Ben, you have 1 minute to fashion a puppet out of anything you have available to you in your space.
Okay.
Starting now. You have 1 minute.
All right.
Fashion a puppet. Fashion a puppet.
Hold on. Okay. Damn it, I don't have tape. I don't have anything sticky. I think I'm overthinking it. Oh my god. Okay, this is happening.
Okay.
I'm about to destroy a piece of something I have. Well, not destroy it.
I have it, but you just have to say when.
Okay. Well, wait, Jeanette, is your puppet ready?
Almost.
Okay.
I don't know who he is or what he does for a living.
That's what we're going to find out right now. Here we go. Jeanette,
Okay.
you can start. Please introduce us to your puppet. Tell
Okay.
us their name, what they do. Go.
This is Nimothy Mouse. And she has her name sounds like Tim. I look like I have piggy ears right now. Yeah, and she's got a speech impediment. She's got a lisp. I can't do a lisp, so I don't know why I chose to do that, but that's what I was thinking of because her little nose does that.
I love that. All right. Ben, please introduce us to your puppet.
This is Abby. She's a cat puppet. She's full of salmon. She's 10 years old, and she's incredibly lifelike. And she's the only thing that I can really say about her is that she's very sharp at times when she doesn't like to be held. But that's my puppet, Matt.
It's going to be a very interesting game, Ben. I can't wait.
Ventriloquism at its
Vince,
best.
please introduce Jeanette and Ben to your puppet.
Yes, hello. Announcing the dramatic return of Glovo. Glovo is here. Big news. You weren't wearing me right last week. I go on your hand, you moron. So we roll the footage back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
if you go
ask
back
what you
and
were
watch
wearing it on
week's
last week?
episode, last week I had him on like a brush or something. It was a bad idea. And like 30 seconds after the episode ended, I remembered, oh, I could have put him on my hand. So he's got his hair over to the side, his tongue sticking out. He's a good guy. Glovo, you know him, you love him, he's back.
You glove him.
Glovo, Glovo, Glovo. Wait, Ben, do you have a new puppet?
This is a new one. Well, wait, I'm talking. This is Boxy. And I just wanted, something that might actually qualify because I didn't think it was fair to have a living being. So if you need a real one, here it is.
Hi, Boxy.
Hi.
I'm excited to see how this.
When I was a kid, I tried learning ventriloquism, but I was never good at it.
I adore this. Okay. All the games this month are going to involve puppets, just so we're clear on that. So how tonight's game is going to work is because one of the shining moments of this movie for me was the romance between a human and a puppet, Charles and Piggy. For tonight's game, one at a time, I'm going to give one of you a famous film couple, and then you and your puppet have to act out a scene from that movie, like being that couple. And then the other two have to guess who the couple is. All right?
Oh, God, I have one scene I hope I get. Oh,
Yep.
God.
So, hold on. I have to do a cold thing, which is coughing. I'm back now. So, there we go. This will be a situation, not a chime in first, but a write down what you think it is type of game. So, each person in recreating a romantic scene will have, let's say, 15 seconds to best convey who their famous film couple is. Film or TV couple. Some of these couples are from television shows, okay? And then the two people who are not performing will write down their guesses. And per usual rules, the performer will get a point for every correct guess that comes from other people. It'll be great. It'll be great. There we go. Who wants to go first? Who wants to perform first?
I'll do it first.
Okay. Everyone who's not Jeanette and what's your puppet's name?
Nimothy.
Nimothy. Everyone who's not Jeanette and Nimothy, please divert your eyes. Okay. Okay. This is your couple.
Okay.
Okay, we may look now. Action.
I love you, mon chéri. I love you.
Can you chime in if you have a guess, or how does it go?
Write it down. I think.
Yeah,
Write it down. I'm sorry. You said that, Matt.
It's okay.
And then just imagine my puppet with lighting that only shows their nose and their eyes.
All right, let's see those guesses. We'll start with Vince.
I guessed Le Pew and the cat.
Okay, Ben.
I guessed Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast and whoever his girlfriend was in that movie.
Oh, that's a
Doesn't
good
he,
guess,
like-
though.
Those were very good
Yes.
guesses. We were looking for Gomez and Morticia Adams.
Still very, very well done.
Very well done. Very well done. All right. Ben, let's have you up next.
Sure. Okay, let me just get my puppet real quick.
Yeah, go get your puppet.
Which puppet are you using?
Just divert your eyes, Vince. Very good. Very good. All right.
All right, we're ready.
All right. This is your couple.
Okay.
Okay, we can look now. Please act.
Blank, oh blank. Wherefore out there blank. Oh no, you've died. Oh.
She gave you a look. Look at that look she's giving you.
She's not happy. Well, she's dead.
Let's start with Jeanette.
Oh.
Okay. Vince.
Samesies. Romeo and Juliet.
That's correct. We were going for Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my
Ben and
God.
the cat. Yes. You did it.
She's so mad, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, Vince, it's your turn. Everyone look away who's not Vince. And Glovo. Let me see. We can look now.
No, bro.
Action.
Is it Brokeback Mountain? No.
Oh, darling, my twin sister, I love you so much I threw a child out of a tower for you in the first episode of the show.
Oh.
So everyone here should get it, since everyone's seen, you know what, if you didn't make it to the end of that first episode of the show, you're going to have no idea
I
what
was
I'm
going to
talking
say, I
about.
have a feeling this is a show that I haven't watched, which is the major show I haven't watched, and I don't know anybody's names.
I feel disgusted to be a part of this. This is... There's no way you're going to get monetized.
Okay, let's start with Ben. Ben, what's your guess?
My guess is Cersei and Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones.
All right. Jeanette?
Game and Throne.
Game and Throne.
That is correct. It was the Lannisters from Game of Thrones. Woo! All right, let's bring it back to Jeanette. Everyone look away who's not Jeanette. Very good, very good.
Why did I just have... Okay, I just had the wrong movie pop in my head. Hold on. Okay, I don't know why I can't...
We can look now. Action.
Play it again, Sam. We'll always have Paris.
I'm laughing too hard and it's making the coughs come back.
I
It's
can't tell.
It's good. Vince, let's see your guess.
I don't know names, and I'm not sure if I got the actress right, but is it Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman?
Maybe. Ben?
I also put Casablanca, and I had to look up I forgot what her character's name was. It was Rick and Ilsa.
That's
is what I
correct.
put. Yeah.
Oh, you
Well
heard.
done.
You woot. All right, next. Whose turn is it? Was Ben?
I think it's mine. I'm gonna go with the box this time because
Go with the
the
box.
other puppet
The
is
cat's
giving
pissed
me.
off at you.
She's, okay, check this out. Check this out. Like not happy.
Angry face. She's in that position where if you try to grab her on the sides, she's going to
Oh,
like.
she
freak
would
out.
hiss
Yeah.
immediately.
Bad things will happen. Bad things will happen.
Yeah.
Right. Look away if you're not. Look away if you're not Ben and the cat. Okay.
Okay.
We can look now.
If somebody else gets the couple that I'm dying to get, that's fine.
I wanna push you around. Well, I will.
Oh,
Well, I
oh, oh,
will. I wanna take you for granted. Yeah.
I love that that's the
Yeah.
scene that you chose.
Uh-huh. Boxing Helena is really good, Yoda for Mark.
What's
Love
boxing
it.
Helena?
It's a movie.
Is it? I don't know that.
It
Yeah.
sounds like a bad emo song.
Jeanette, what's your guess?
Ken and Barbie.
All right. Vince?
Oh, that's not good. I guess. Who did I guess? Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
Oh, okay.
I like
was gonna
that
say,
too.
there's no Rob Thomas movie.
Mhm. All right, Vince, it's your turn. Look away if you're not Vince.
Well, who got it?
What's that? Oh, yeah. It was Barbie. It was Barbie.
Oh, okay.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. You got the point. All right, Vince. Yeah, I'll give you this one. We can look now. Action.
Oh, you're such a dark, mysterious knight of a lover. Yeah, I lived 9 lives, so to speak. You're purr.
Oh,
You're I've been played by Eartha Kitt. I've been played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Anne Hathaway.
I just wrote the wrong thing because I'm laughing.
Okay. Jeanette, what's your guess?
Batman and Catwoman, and I wrote Batwoman at first because I was laughing too.
That's a better story.
I accidentally wrote Car Woman, but my answer is Catwoman. Batman.
That was, of course, the correct answer.
Oh
Car
my God.
Woman.
Car Woman.
All right, back to Jeanette. We're throwing it back to Jeanette.
Oh my God, please.
I don't know. I feel like the couple you want isn't here, but I don't know who they are.
I'll say it at the end, because it's like it's a scene that's super easy to like. Everybody would get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here you go.
I don't know anything about that at
Yes,
all.
you do.
No. Okay.
No?
All right.
Okay. No. Do yours. Do the one that you want to do.
No. Play. I'm gonna do that one.
You are? Okay, everyone, look. Go.
I feel pretty. Oh, so pretty. I feel with you. I don't know anything with the couples in that movie. That's all I know. So if you know who that person's with, you got it. Who's that person with? I don't know.
Ben, who's that person with?
I said it's West Side Story Maria. Is his name Tony, or am I making that up?
It's Tony.
Okay. God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I also guessed West Side Story Mar. I was in the middle of
Maria.
writing Maria. Never would have got Tony. He doesn't strike me as a Tony.
He's a Tony. He's Italian. That's the whole thing. No, he's Polish. I can't.
I thought he was Irish.
I don't know. Maybe. It's been a while. I feel pretty. Ben, it's your turn. Look away, everyone, if you're not Ben.
Oh, I almost looked away.
All right. No.
Ah, okay.
We can look now.
All right.
Okay.
Tale as old as time. Come. I'm a different person now. Come to my lair. Come to my lair. I can't. I love to read books. No, you will be trapped in my lair. But then we will dance. That's. I did such a good job, right, Matt?
I was hoping you were going to dance with the puppet, Ben, but that was still.
We could still.
Thank you.
I'll tell you when you're older. Something going on.
Vince, what's your guess?
I guess Belle and the Beast.
Jeanette?
Beauty and the Beast, or Belle and Adam, or Belle and the Beast.
It was actually The Notebook. No, it was Beauty and the
I
Beast.
was like, what?
Wait, is Adam the Beast's name? Like real name? His name's Adam? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Well, it's like it's not quite canon, but it's basically canon.
Got
Yeah.
His name should
Jeanette.
be like Frank.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine how
Vince.
disappointing that would be? Vince, it's your turn. Look away if you're not Vince.
Ah, okay.
We can look now.
You're so handsome, I would sacrifice my ability to vocalize to hang out with you on land. For a good set of gams, I would trade my voice for that.
And what does Glovo have to say to that?
You're goddamn right, I'm handsome. I'm a fucking prince. Sorry. That wasn't me, it was him.
It's the foul-mouthed glove. It strikes again. Let's start with Ben.
I think it's Little Mermaid. Is his name Eric? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Eric.
Ariel and Eric. Okay. I'm
Jeanette?
always forgetting the names.
I don't
of the
know why
men.
I misspelled Ariel's name on purpose. I put Ariel and Eric.
Ariel.
Yeah.
Her name is Ariel. All right. And we're on to the last question. Jeanette, it's your time to shine. Maybe this is the one that you wanted.
Maybe
huh?
it's the one. Nope, but that's cool too.
Okay, we can look now.
All right. Hold on, that would be me, I guess. This is the other person. This is okay. Where are my slippers? The rain in Spain was mainly on the plane.
Can we get a location?
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane. I don't know
Oh.
where else.
You're good at that.
I think she's got it. I think she's got it. Vince, let's start with your guess.
I haven't even written anything down yet.
Good luck.
I'm gonna guess Buffalo Bill and the Lady in the Pit at the in Silence of the Lambs.
That would have been a much more dark charade over here on my
But
side.
he likes rhymes, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Ben, what's your guess?
I put Eliza and Henry from My Fair Lady.
Ben, you got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's my fault for not doing
We're here for Audrey
Hepburn
Week.
Month.
Exactly. Were you here for any of Hepburn Month? I can't remember.
No, I was in the comments.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it
All
Vince?
right. Well, let's take a look at what our points are.
Does Vince have one last one, Matt?
No, I only had
No.
10.
That's hard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. The point standings are thus. Hold on. Vince has 9. Ben has 11. Jeanette has 12. How many points would we like to wager for the bonus round? Which will just
Ooh.
be a question that I haven't come up with yet.
All of them. All of them.
All of them? Okay.
Oh, I'm
All
betting
in.
8. I'll bet 8.
All right. All right, here we go. Your bonus question for tonight is what will it be? I know I really should write these in advance. I'm always like, I'll just come up with something in the moment. That'll be great. But it never is. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Who directed The Muppets Take Manhattan?
Ricky Gervais.
Well, I need you to write it down there.
Oh.
Okay.
What year was this film?
I don't know.
It's after this one, and it was before Muppet Vision 3D, so it had to be between the years of 82 and 89.
We'll start with Vince's answer. You can do it. I'd like to have Glovo give the answer, please.
Oh, hang on. This is always such a painful process for him.
What did you do to Glovo?
I'm back. Don't worry. Still feels better than my last 3 colonoscopies. Anyway, Glovo, that's completely inappropriate. What's the answer? Let's go with David Fincher.
Okay.
That was
his first film.
That'd be great. Jeanette?
Frank Oz.
All right. Ben?
I also put Frank Oz, but I only put this because one of you said it tonight, and I wouldn't have known it otherwise. Was it you, Matt, that said it earlier?
Probably me. It is, in fact, Frank Oz, but since Jeanette had 12 that she wagered all of, Jeanette wins with 24. Yay!
Well done, yay! Muppet cheering.
Yeah. So the couple that I kept hoping I would get was Jack and Rose.
Oh, you would have done so well with that.
Show us. Show us what it would have been.
Oh, I know I can't do it.
Yes, you can. Look, you're spotlit.
I have to be Jack because she's a girl. So, you know.
Of course.
We're on there together. And then, I'll never let you go, Jack. I'll never let you go.
Come back.
Goes.
Jack.
Frostbitten lip whistling.
Yeah.
We should just do Titanic for one of these just for funsies.
Oh my
just
God.
For the levels. All right.
Yeah, right. That's got to be we're going to watch, although we've watched 3-hour movies before, I guess it just still sounds like
just Oscar season all over again. Just the Oscars. Anyway, there we are, everyone. Muppet Caper. Hooray! My favorite Muppet movie. Thank you all for watching it. Thank you for indulging my favorite Muppet movie. Thank you, everyone who's on screen, for saying that you enjoyed it. And Alex isn't here, and he's the one who said he didn't like it. Is it a coincidence? Who knows? But
did you send him a private message that was like "Get out"? And
Maybe.
then he had to like leave.
He had to come up with a reason to go.
Yeah.
We'll never know. Well, there we are, everyone. Hooray! Any closing thoughts? Anything about Muppet Caper that you want to leave the audience with that you didn't have a chance to say this evening?
I have some Muppet, deep Muppet Game of Thrones crossover lore to share. I don't know if now is the right time.
It is now or never.
Okay, well, it all starts in the it all starts in the mid 1990s when George R.R. Martin writes the first Game of Thrones book. And at the end of every book, he's got like a family tree for each of the great houses, right? I don't have time to explain the great houses, but in House Tully, he goes back 300 years with this family. He's making up all these names, and around 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, he throws in a little Muppet Easter egg. So there are 3 members of House Tully called the Muppet Tullys. It's Kermit, Elmo, and Grover Tully. All of that's unimportant for the next 20 years until Game of Thrones really picks up steam, right? In terms of the HBO show. George's publisher is like, okay, we can sell a ton of Game of Thrones stuff if you want to churn out a bunch of like deep lore from your universe. So he writes the book that's going to be the bedrock of House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones property that's very popular right now. That's set 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. And he looks back to these old family trees and he realizes, oh no, I have to use the Muppet Tullys in this timeline. It's canon, and I have to write in Kermit, Elmo, and Grover Tully, who will be appearing, I believe, on this season of House
At least those all sound like normal names. They're not like Animal or like
I don't know, Kermit
Beaker or whatever.
Animal.
That's a normal name though.
Gonzo Tully.
Fozzie. Throw
Well, it's
Fozzie
just
in
Elmo
there.
and Grover, right? Like those. There was a president named Grover.
Elmo's a
Normal
name.
Elmo's
Saint
a name,
Elmo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Saint
what I'm saying.
Elmo's
At least
fire.
you picked normal ones like that. It wasn't like Miss Piggy Tully. or whatever.
Piggy Tully.
Is,
There's
was,
another
everything,
character named. No?
was everything you just said true, Vince?
Yes, 100%.
Good.
They will be
Good.
appearing in this season, The House of the Dragon. So get caught up, everyone. It's a great show.
And to be clear, they're people named after the Muppets. We're not going to show
Until
up as
they
Muppets.
cast the Muppets.
Right. So
I'm really hoping they show up as Muppets.
I think people would be thrilled. It wouldn't break the fabric of the show at all. It would.
The only shame is that we no
I
longer
might
have
watch.
Diana Rigg to do the crossover. Although I guess in the
That would've
timeline
been
of Game of Thrones, wouldn't have
This is
worked
way
out.
before her. Yeah, that's
Mm.
true.
Shame.
The last thing I want to say about Muppet Caper is that it made me remember, because I forgot this, that Kermit was on Sesame Street as a newsman, and he would do the news flash segment. Do you guys remember that? And it would always be about like fairy tales. Like it would be like Humpty Dumpty fell off a wall, or at the scene of the accident, and he would have a little trench coat and a hat on, and it looked like the same wardrobe that he wore in Muppet Caper as the
I would be
reporter.
surprised if it was.
So I appreciated that kind of throwback. If it was a throwback, it felt like it to me.
I think it was more synergy than throwback.
I think synergy might be the right word.
He was building the Muppetverse.
The MMU, the MU.
The MU. The MU.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, maybe that's canon. Maybe his character on Sesame Street is the same reporter that goes to London. in
It
this
could
movie.
be.
That's what it is. We cracked the
Ooh.
Muppet code.
We got it.
Love it.
All right. All right, everyone. Well, it's that time. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, and where they can find you. We'll start with who wants to start? We'll start with Ben.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me back, Matt. I haven't been on the show in a few months, so it's great to
Love having you. Thank
see
you.
all your faces and be a part of this episode tonight. You can find me on Instagram, or I still will call it Twitter, at It's Ben Gordon, Gordon. And my big news right now is I'm co-directing a play, which I've never done. I've acted in theater, never directed theater. So we have a new play coming in August. If you're in the greater Toronto area, it's called Ben and Ronnie. It has nothing to do with me, Ben. That's just a character. And my good friend Aaron Mick wrote it. And we're putting it on at the Red Sandcastle Theater in the east end of the city, August 9th, 10th, and 11th. Look up Ben and Ronnie Toronto. Get your tickets now, and I'll see you soon.
Hell yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome, Ben. I'm going to tell Lisa about it. We'll try and be there. Red Castle? I don't know. Anyway, hey, my name's Vince. I run a show called Only Time Will Tell on YouTube, TikTok. I've broken into Rumble. Rumble's fun. I don't know. It's not really working, but we'll see. I'm on Rumble, so check me out. Only Time Will Tell. Vinny Ridge Media. This week, I'm starting a 3-part series on the secret tunnels that exist beneath Toronto. Are they different from the regular secret tunnels beneath other cities all over the world? Only time will tell.
Thanks, Vince. Sounds pretty cool. Y'all should check out Vince's show. It's actually really cool. And spooky, super spooky. I am Jeanette. You can find me here. And you can find me here next week too. And the week after that for Muppets Month. And on We Like Theme Parks podcast every Thursday, except last Thursday. And you should tune in when it comes out. Well, this Thursday when it comes out, because Marty was on the show. So, Marty Adams is hilarious. And yeah, you can find me at TinkerJ787 on Instagram. Just having a good time.
Woot! And this is my show. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for week 2 of the Henson Movie Marathon. Join us next week. We will be discussing The Dark Crystal, a movie I've never been able to bring myself to finish, but I'm going to have to force it for next week. Also, next week might not be on Wednesday. I haven't discussed that with everyone yet, but stay tuned. Hopefully, I won't be sick then. See you then. Matt, 2 degrees. Teacup for 1. How do you end this?